Good morning, everybody. It's 8:30. We'll call this morning's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, May 6th. Our first item is the approval of the agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Baer. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Just a note on that under the consent agenda, there was a donation from Johnson's Auto Repair. They are a proud supporter of the Sheriff's Department and their canine program. And they sell candy bars in their shop, and the proceeds of those candy bars go to the Sheriff's Department. And this time around, it was $70 in cash. So thank you to Johnson's Auto for that. Next, we have some employee recognitions. All right, our first one we have is for Seth. 25 years, huh? Well, congratulations. This is showing our appreciation for your 25 years of dedicated service. Thank you. Thank you very much. Justin, you want to?
Yeah. So Seth is in our one of our senior engineering technicians. So throughout the last 25 years, he's worn many different hats. Throughout the last 6 years that I've been here, he's kind of been transitioning into our team leader for our bridge inspection program, and he does a phenomenal job at that. I mean, Seth comes to work every day early with a smile on his face, and couldn't ask for a better employee. And thank you, Seth.
All right. Next, we have Jennifer Thomas. And this one is celebrating 25 years of dedicated service.
We're accepting it on her behalf.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, no. So, Justin, you want to talk?
Yep, I'll say a few words. Jen was unable to be with us today. She's currently in New York on vacation, but I have a few words for her. Jen has been a big part of our non-secure program for the last 25 years, evolving through different roles with working with our youth. She's very passionate about her job, and it shows with the work that she does with the kids that she oversees. Jen has also used her knowledge and experience with this job to assist our newer staff in guiding them to gain the confidence needed to involve in their roles as well. I'm grateful that Jen has been working with us as long as she has, and when she gets back from vacation, I'm looking forward to seeing talking to her about what her next 25 years at the facility is going to bring.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Nick Togus, and he is not here today either, right? So the sheriff is here too, and he has 15 years of service.
So Nick has been with us for 15 years. He cannot be here today. He's currently in Canton, South Dakota, becoming a taser instructor. But he started actually in the correctional center. And on a side note, this week is National Corrections Week, so we appreciate the work that all of our correctional officers do in keeping the inmates safe over at our facility. But when Nick went to pursue his law enforcement career, he did stay with us in a part-time capacity and started working as a deputy and doing court security. And he did that for several years while he was working for both the Glendon and White Earth Police Departments. And in 2018, he was hired full-time as a deputy, and he's been with us ever since. He is a police training officer, so he trains our new staff. He is also our less than lethal instructor, so he's all things less than lethal for us, and he does a great job for us. And I joke about having other people up here and staying for 15 years. I truly think Nick will be here for another 15 years. So we appreciate his work, so thank you.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. Thank you. All right, next we have citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens in the audience to be heard on items not on the agenda? It looks like we have none. Steve, anything from online?
Mr. Chair, I did receive information from 4 different citizens in regards to the casino and issuing a letter of support for the White Earth Casino Complex. The 4 letters, I provided each of those to you on your desk. We received a letter from Janine Hansen, Mike and Sarah Lillestrand, Terry Melby, and Chris Rosedal. Again, all of these were speaking not in favor of the letter of support, and if it is all right with the board chair and the commission, I would, rather than read these, submit these to be part of the packet that would be published next week or 2 weeks.
All right, so these will become part of the minute record. All right. Anything, no other citizens' comments? All right. Next, we'll approve the payment of bills and vouchers.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Excuse me. Approval of minutes from April 15th and April 22nd.
Move to approve the minutes for April 15th and April 22nd.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Krabanoff, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right. Our next item is the request approval to hire a registered nurse for public health. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. We will have an opening in our family home visiting program for a full-time registered nurse. I've listed some of the responsibilities they have in regards to their home visits, and we have evidence-based programs for those, so they're seeing lots of families in their homes. They also provide childcare consultation for childcare facilities across our community and our county. They're backup for vaccines, car seat education and installation, child and teen checkups in our clinic. So a variety of things that the family home visiting nurses do. I believe that you just received the salary calculation worksheet.
Yes.
I passed this morning. It lists the differences if we hire on step 2 or step 3 at the bottom there. So there would be some savings in both of those. We're still having challenges recruiting nurses. We have like 3 open positions in our adult health, and now we have 1 in family health, and it's really been challenging to recruit the nurses that we need in those program areas. So we may, depending on what we have to offer a nurse, there may be less savings in hiring. I also requested to backfill if there's a need, if there's a nurse that's in another program area and wants to provide services in our family health area.
Mr. Chair, did this go through PIC?
Pardon me?
Did this go through PIC?
This one did not.
No, this is replacing a current nurse.
Yes, Commissioner Bear.
Is this a 2-year or 4-year RN?
4-year is the requirement for our home visiting nurses.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve the advertising hire for full-time position. Sorry. Move for approval to advertise and hire for a full-time RN position in family health with backfill.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Krabanoff, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign? No, okay.
I have another question for.
Okay, yep, sure, go ahead.
About beginning, middle of April there, you came in here to go after some grant money. I was just wondering, update on that, if that, the substance use prevention education grant was received or not?
Unfortunately, we got a denial letter yesterday from them.
We're still waiting on the other grant that,
The other grant, we also received a denial letter. So Rory is following up on that to see how many applicants there were and why we received a denial.
all right. Thank you for that update.
Sure. Thank you.
Kathy. All right, next we have a case manager position in the secure residential unit. James is here this morning. Good morning, James.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I'm here today to request permission to rehire a soon-to-be-open case manager position in our secure residential unit. He'll be out of here in about 2 weeks. He did great work for us. He liked working here. He's originally from down south, and he's moving back closer to family. And requesting to refill the case manager position, which is in line 17, with backfill.
Okay. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve with backfill.
I will second that.
Motion by Commissioner Moschel, second by Commissioner Bayer. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Before I get out of here, I do have a quick update. James's team is phenomenal, as we all know, but that has been told to the entire state through our dialogues at the Capitol. Yesterday, our PRTF allocation for the renovation grant passed the first major hurdle in the House yesterday. And Representative Keeler talked at length about how phenomenal your staff is and how phenomenal your staff is at meeting each individual case, kids where they're at. And I know you know this. I know you work really hard. I know you're also really great at tiling, which I saw the new fireplace stone over at the Family Service Center. But this huge step is not the work of this board. For us to get to that level at the state is a true testament to the work that your staff does and all of the other staff from other departments that work with your employees. And James, you've just been really great at constantly meeting. I know you hate we all hate these recurring meetings, but you always bring everything to the table, all of the documents, all of the extra work. And so I just really want you to know that I really appreciate the work and the culture in which you've built over there. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, James. All right, next we have our MetroCog update for 2026. Ben?
Okay.
Good morning, Ben.
Morning, Chair, Commission, Mr. Administrator. I'm a little hoarse, so I apologize for sounding like a frog. It's always good to come and speak with y'all and let y'all know what's going on. We've been doing a lot of projects, but first I just wanted to do a quick update or a quick review of what we do and who we are. You know, we're a bi-state MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization. We cover both Minnesota and part of North Dakota as well. We have an urbanized area of 178 square miles. Our 2023 population that we serve is 262,620. So we're a small TMA, Transportation Management Area, which is a type of an MPO, but we're a fairly large MPO for the region. So it's depending on how you look at what we do, you know, it's kind of, you know, it depends on which lens you want to look through. One of the most important stats that I think that we have here in the area is 1.81 unemployment rate. It's the second lowest in the U.S., and I think y'all are aware of that and talk that up at every opportunity. I know I do whenever I speak to a group, whether they're local or whether out of state. I think the lowest unemployment rate, I believe the last I checked, was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So I think that's pretty significant. We have 2.5 billion vehicle miles traveled, and that equates out to 9,451 vehicle miles traveled per capita. Those are pretty big numbers for an area this size. So that's a lot of folks driving on a lot of roads. We also have over 1 million MAT bus riders. Again, that's a pretty significant number for a transit agency that's this size, that serves an area this size. We have over 60 TIP projects. Those are Transportation Improvement Program projects. Those are the construction projects that y'all see. That's the rebuilding and reconstruction and construction of new roads and infrastructure. And the valuation of those projects are over $86 million. So that's a pretty significant amount. Some of that money comes from MNDOT, some of it comes from North Dakota DOT. We just total it up because we are a regional MPO. We have 253 miles of shared use bikeway paths in the area, and that's constantly being added. Our policy board, of which Ms. Mojo is the chair, is very supportive of our bike ped program and expanding our shared youth pathways. And it gets a lot of support from all our jurisdictions and residents in the area as well. They really like those programs. And we were, as I talked about earlier, we were designated as a transportation management area on June 5th of 2023. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit, but I wanted to give y'all a couple of updates. We're a council of governments. We've been a council of governments since, I believe, 1961. So there were some forward-thinking folks at that time that realized that there's strength in numbers and all the local jurisdictions needed to work together toward common goals. Out of that council of governments, the MPO was established in the early 70s with one of the federal highway transportation bills that was passed at the time under the Nixon administration that basically treated transportation funds like community development block grants for HUD. Chunks of money came to the states. They were distributed to MPOs if they were 50,000 population or higher to deal those out for various planning and construction projects. So an MPO is created by federal legislation. We're formed by state governments. The governors of both states have to sign off for anything that we do as far as becoming an MPO or in our most recent case, becoming a TMA. And we work real closely with the local jurisdictions. There's representatives on our policy board. We have full members, of which Clay County is one. We have 7 full members. And we also have 7 associate members. Our newest associate member was the city of Kindred that came on about this time last year. So they're not dues-paying members, but they are able to participate. They're non-voting. They can apply for funding for projects. And, but they're not a voting member in projects, and they can participate in both our technical committee and on the policy board. Again, I talked about, we're a bi-state MPO. We prepare comprehensive and transportation plans for smaller communities in the area. We're preparing one for Kindred right now. That was part of the reason why they wanted to come on board as an associate member. Dilworth is another community in the area here that we're updating their comprehensive plan as I speak. So they had wanted to do that last year, and with all the growth that's been going on, they wanted to take care of some zoning issues first. And they asked us if we could do their comprehensive plan update this year, which we're well underway. We had an open house at the City Depot 2 weeks ago, had a pretty good turnout from that. We conducted a regional housing market study in 2022 and 2023 that was adopted by the policy board. We also support the Cass Clay Food Commission. They meet monthly in our conference room, and we support several of their subcommittees as well. We also provide support for the MAT Bus Coordination Committee Board. They meet monthly in our conference room. There's several members made up from the local jurisdictions, and with their latest reorganization, I sit on that board as well as executive director of MetroCog. We also maintain traffic counting equipment and data for regional jurisdictions. We've done that for almost 40 years, but now the rules have kind of changed a little bit at the federal level. We're having to be kind of creative in how we purchase that equipment and how we use it going forward. They kind of changed the rules on us in the middle of the night and didn't let us know about it until after the fact, so it kind of caught us by surprise. And we also develop a single 4-year fiscally constrained annual transportation improvement program. Again, these are the construction projects that you see in the area that use federal dollars. And we often get asked, why do you do one for the entire area? Why don't you do one for the Minnesota side and one for the North Dakota side? And that's because we're a regional MPO. We try to accommodate all of the policies and statutes from both legislatures and from both DOTs. It's getting more and more difficult, especially this year with the executive orders that have come about and the changes that have been coming through the Department of Transportation. A lot of things that were very forward-thinking, especially on the Minnesota side, such as greenhouse gas emissions and carbon reduction programs, have been stripped and will probably be stripped some more. Y'all may recall the NEVI program, which was an electric vehicle recharging network, was canceled almost immediately at the end of at the beginning of the new administration. That was a real rock in their shoe that they didn't really like. That was a real popular program in Minnesota throughout the state, so that kind of hit Minnesota a lot harder than other states. We also do a four-year plan, and we're required to do a 4-year plan. We've talked about doing a 6-year plan because some of our jurisdictions do a 5-year capital improvement program. And we felt like that a 6-year tip would kind of mirror that and kind of keep up with what's going on. But both the DOTs suggested that we stick with the 4-year program because of how federal funding is authorized and approved and allocated, so they didn't want to get too far out. There's a few large MPOs, I'll say like Dallas, Atlanta, Chicago, that do a 6-year tip, and that's probably good for them because they're a large metro area. We talked about doing it, again, because to match folks that have a 5-year capital improvement plan, but as it is right now, we're going to stick with our 4-year plan. We follow a 3C planning process. It's continuing, cooperative, and comprehensive. And Ms. Mojo will probably tell you sometimes it's not so cooperative with our oversight agencies. They seem to have different interpretations and different timelines and schedules than we do here. And I say that jokingly, but we're a large metro area. We're fast growing. I don't have to tell y'all this. Y'all know this. But when you compare us to the other MPOs, on the North Dakota side in particular, because North Dakota DOT is our oversight agency, but also with areas on the Minnesota side, we're really growing, and we got a lot of projects, and we work real close with District 4 on projects on this side of the river, with the Fargo district on the North Dakota side. There's a lot that could be done that is that's not just because there's not funding enough. So it's a challenge. I always say there should be 4 C's to transportation. It should be communication, because that's very important, communicating up and down the line with our state and federal oversight agencies, and also with all the jurisdictions. Ms. Mojo and Mr. Krabbenhoff to tell you, I can talk the ears off of Billy Goat sometimes, but I spend a lot of time talking to the jurisdiction staff. Matt and Justin in y'all's organization are great to work with. I met with them last week because we're working on our 26-27 work program and budget. And I go around and meet with all of them at least twice a year. And I'd like to do that more often, to be honest, but it's kind of hard to get out and do that. But I think the communication should be a 4th one that should be added, because that's almost a constant. This is our metropolitan planning area, and you see it covers both sides of the river. It doesn't cover the entire county as far as the planning areas, but it does cover a significant portion of both counties. And then the colored municipalities that you see there in the center, Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo, Horace, and Dilworth, are member organizations, as well as Clay and Cass counties. The other cities that you see are associate members, which I talked about briefly. They're non-voting, non-dues paying members, but they do participate in some projects from time to time. This is our urbanized boundary. It was approved at the end of 2023. The red line forms the boundary. The blue line at the far left-hand side is the diversion authority boundary, as we all are aware of. And the squiggly line in the middle there is the Red River, and it obviously divides the states and the counties. So we've got several, excuse me, I have asthma, so when I cough, it's really bad. It sounds bad, but it hurts worse, but I'm sorry about that. That's why I've been sucking on cough drops all morning, hoping I wouldn't be doing this. We have several projects that are going on. We've got about a dozen planning projects going on throughout the area right now, and we have several that are going on here in Clay County. And the first one that y'all are probably all familiar of, because y'all probably seen Dan Farnsworth from our office in here talking to y'all a couple of times over the last several months for the Heartland Trail Study. So the Heartland Trail Study has been real important. We've been wanting to get started on this for quite a long time. The current trail is 49 miles from Park Rapids to Cass Lake. It was one of the first trail projects in the country. It was actually started in 1976. So it takes a lot longer to get these things built than it takes to get them planned. The current plan that we have going on now builds on the master plan, excuse me, that was done in 2011. And it specifically looks at the portion of the trail here in Clay County. And these are the key tasks that we're looking at as far as trail development and eventual design and construction for the Heartland Trail. And this, I wanted to get to this slide because this shows you we don't look at any one alignment. We look at a corridor or a series of alignments to try to figure out what are the best ones. One of the things that we have found with this corridor study is nobody really wants to be along US 10. They don't want to be along a busy highway if they don't have to. But unfortunately, it's looking more and more like parts of the trail are going to have to be along this highway. We've had a lot of property owners that have been very opposed to the trail, and that's understandable. It's something new. And one of the things we try to get them to do is talk with others who have the trail adjacent to their property, maybe that are, that farm their land or that, have similar use of their land, so they can see that it's a very minimal impact. And that's a tough hurdle to jump. But, people will be that way, and if it's something new, and when they can talk to their peers that have the same issues and that have not had any problem, it really helps us a lot move forward. We're also working on a transit development plan for MatBus. This is a 5-year plan that's done every 5 years to be updated. And we cover a lot of different areas as far as the bus service. They look at what their needs are as far as for routes. I know that's been a sore subject here with the new DMV center, and we're still working with MatBus on that. I think the current staff, since they've merged and they've become a single agency with us becoming a TMA, MatBus, which was historically 2 separate transit agencies, is now merging in the process. It's not 100% complete, but it's pretty close. They're merging into what's called a large urban. And on the one hand, that's good. It opens up some funding potential for them. But on the other hand, it kind of limits them, because with them becoming a large urban transit agency, I believe the amount of funding that they had dedicated funding as a smaller one was about $500,000 or $600,000. So they're trying to make up for that, and that's been really tough. It's already tough enough for transit. So some of the things we do in the transit plan is we look at their routes, we look at their needs. They're also, with this current plan, they're looking at micro transit. They're also looking at transit on demand, where readers or riders call. They've done a pilot program in the industrial park, and it's worked pretty well. That program could probably be expanded to others, possibly for similar to paratransit, but more when they get enough riders that like in an industrial park at an employer that can catch a ride to work and catch a ride home in the afternoon. That seems like something that's doable. A couple of years ago it wasn't, but now with everybody with a cell phone and having Wi-Fi and wireless connections, it's working out a lot better. There's also a lot of new scheduling software that helps them coordinate those bus routes and those drivers a little bit too. Another project that we just finished up in December was the Moorhead Safe Routes to School plan. Their plan was about 8 years old, and we updated it for them. It included every school in the Moorhead School District except for the high school. So we look at the 6 E's, which are education, encouragement, engineering, engagement, evaluation, and equity. Used to, there was enforcement, and I'm sure the sheriff may remember that. Enforcement was a big part of that, but that was kind of negative, and we got put, I say we, all the folks that work in safe routes got some pushback from that. So I think enforcement became encouragement, and that's worked out really well, you know, taking a little lighter approach to that than simply writing out a ticket. And it's worked out pretty well. A lot of it is just getting the parents and the schools on board. And when we had our kickoff meeting with the Moorhead project, we had every principal from every school at the meeting, including most of the school resource officers. So that helps us get started, get off to a good start. And a little bit of what they do is, this program does is try to make it safer for kids to walk and bike to school, which doesn't sound like a lot, but as any educator will tell you, and I'm definitely not an educator, but any school teacher will tell you, kids that ride a bike or walk to school are more alert, they're better students, they make better grades, they're more physically alert and active in class, and they're better behaved. And when I go to a school district or to a school and tell them this, every teacher's head nods.
So that's what I've been missing. I got to get these kids to walk to school. I'm kidding.
Uphill in the snow both
Yeah,
ways.
10 miles. No, just kidding.
So this chart's kind of interesting because it shows in the span of 40 years how much the numbers of kids that walk and ride to school has dropped. And it's dropped for a lot of different reasons, but that's a significant drop from 48% to 13%. And this chart is something that we put together from a lot of our engagements, and it shows reasons why folks don't want their kids to walk or ride a bike to school. And we found this out through our engagement and through our research with the schools and with the resource officers as well as with the parents. And you can see it's pretty straightforward, but the blue lines are things that we don't have any control over, whereas the light green lines are things that we can have some control over and that we can work on to make those more amenable to riding or riding a bike or walking to school. We've also got several other projects, and I just listed a few of them here. Some of them are completed. We're wrapping up the Moorhead I-94 20th Street interchange study. That has gone on for quite a while. The most recent twist in that project has been the Anheuser-Busch property being available for sale. So now the city of Moorhead's concerned about how that would develop. And MnDOT has actually been concerned, excuse me, MnDOT has been concerned with how that redeveloped property may impact access to I-94. And they're doing an I-94 study right now that just got underway from the Red River Bridge all the way, coincidentally enough, to Highway 336. So I believe the administrator was talking about the casino and the tribal land purchase there. That's something that's, ironically enough, this project was planned well before that announcement was made. And that's something that one of our staff members, Dan Farnsworth, who most of y'all know, he's been in front of y'all before, he sits on that review committee, and that's now been a big focus of that study going forward. We're also currently doing a Metro Railroad needs study. We're looking at all the crossings, and that's not just in town, but also in our rural areas. And BNSF has been very cooperative, and they've been very open about concerns that they have. And they've been just as concerned with rail crossings in rural areas as they are with urban areas. And when we asked them recently, you know, that's kind of an odd approach, you know, that we didn't expect. And their response was, we've seen in some areas of high growth, like in Texas, Florida, and California with other railroads, that if you don't get out in front of this and the growth happens almost overnight, there's no going back and making these crossings safe. To the point that they said in the state of Texas, they have multiple fatalities every year because they built. The jurisdictions allowed construction right up to the right-of-way line on the railroads. So they appreciated that we were doing this with some foresight to look at that. The Dilworth 8th Avenue corridor study was finished in December of last year, as was the 15th Avenue corridor study. I know Justin in the engineering department we've been working real close with him. We've also been working real close with a couple of townships and how that roadway is going to develop. And we have it programmed to pave, I believe, 1 mile of it in 2027, I believe. So there's that study almost immediately kicked off a construction project to pave a gravel road. The US 10 study in Dilworth was completed 2 years ago. 15th Avenue and 8th Avenue studies kind of spun off of that. Prior to the Moorhead study, we completed a Dilworth, Glendon, Felton Safe Routes to School plan. And we do those safe route studies are done in-house. We don't use a consultant for those. And Dan Farnsworth generally leads those. We also do regional traffic counts about every 3 years. We're getting ready to start one next year. We originally thought it would be 27, but it got moved up. That took us by surprise. We did an interstate operations analysis, which kind of led the way to the I-94 20th Street interchange study, and also kind of got MnDOT to look at the I-94 corridor between the Red River Bridge and Highway 336. So one study kind of tumbles into another, and since we're the regional area, we do a lot of those first studies that get things started with not only with our local jurisdictions sometimes, but also with the state DOTs. And also, I have listed on there a regional freight plan. Our last freight plan was done in 2016 and 2017, and it was adopted in January of 2018. And that's becoming a high priority. We want to try to get our rail study completed first, and we'd like to get our regional freight plan done or updated before we do our next metropolitan transportation plan, which is our 5-year master transportation plan that we use as a guide for all of our programs and projects. And we adopted it in September, but our federal friends decided they wanted us to adopt it again and redo it, which we did that this last month. So that's now we have a new 5-year horizon that we work on and go from there. I know that's a lot to chew on, and before I conclude, I just wanted to let y'all know that one of the reasons that I'm here is every year we ask y'all for funding to help fund our program and what we do. And there's a percentage that the jurisdictions have agreed on. Every 10 years, they review that. When the census comes out, it's based on population. Clay County's percentage is 6.1%. So that's a real bargain. To give you an idea, Fargo, which is obviously the largest jurisdiction in the region, their share is 50%, and it can't exceed that by federal statute. So whenever populations change, and again, we look at it every 10 years, we look at that, we have to divvy that out. So as a TMA now, we don't receive additional funding. Everybody thought we would receive additional funding. I thought we would receive additional funding. However, we do receive dedicated funding, so that's kind of a plus. We don't have to compete with all the other fish in the sea for it, so that helps. But probably the bigger plus of being a TMA is that not only do we receive dedicated funding, but we also have direct control of that funding and how it's spent, how projects are chosen and how they're prioritized, and then how they're funded. And I say we, it's the policy board. I point to Ms. Mojo and Mr. Kravenhoft. It's the policy board that makes those decisions. And they make those decisions based on what our staff provides, but more importantly, what the technical staff, which is your engineering and planning department staffs who serve on that tech committee that provide recommendations to the policy board. So as we go forward, right, I mentioned earlier, right now I'm working on our 26-27 work program and budget. And I have very rough numbers. We're trying to figure out, I've got an amendment for our 25 budget going to our technical board this week, and it'll go to policy board next week, making some minor changes, hopefully. But those minor changes will probably affect 1 or 2 projects that may spill into next year. So I'm still trying to move all those pieces in place, and I should have an estimate for y'all within the next couple of days. I was hoping I could have that today, but after I completed working with all the jurisdictions and listening to what their needs were and what they would like to do going forward, it looks like we're going to have to do a little bit different. And just for reference, last year, our amount, the amount for Clay County was $18,258.04. Now, that did not include some of the local match that was required for the Heartland Trail project. And that was probably the most significant project within the Clay County jurisdiction. And we kind of sped that one up because we were going at a pretty good clip last year, so we were able to get more done last year, so we could get done earlier this year. And that project, I believe there's a final, excuse me, there's a final draft floating around right now that should be brought before the policy board probably next month for approval and submittal to our well, it would be MnDOT as our oversight agency for that particular project. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions y'all may have. I know there's always some interest on transit, and that's been an ongoing issue with their transition, just like we are. We've been working real close with them. And if you weren't aware, the state of Minnesota has always valued transit, and they submit a lot of state monies to the transit agency on this side of the river. North Dakota has not. But this year, the 4 large cities in North Dakota that have transit agencies, including Fargo, they really worked hard with the legislature to get some dedicated funding. They did get some funding for this year and for next year because their legislature meets every other year. And they did fund a project to identify long-term funding for the transit. So hopefully that'll change, and the state of North Dakota will take a different look at transit like the state of Minnesota does. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions y'all may have.
Thanks, Ben. I know we're up against the public hearing that we have to
I'm
have
so
here,
sorry.
but
Yes, sir.
But there's just a couple of points to make. Later in our agenda today, we're asking for another letter to go to the city of Fargo regarding the Matt Bus issue.
The route, yes, sir.
And then something that just came to our attention, my attention just very recently, that I've asked to have it put on our highway tracking committee meeting, which we're meeting later today, is the study that Fargo is doing regarding the 12th to 15th Avenue Bridge.
Yes, sir.
That is a very, very important corridor for not only Moorhead, but for Clay County in terms of it's really an economical tool that we have, for transportation purposes. So if MetroCog gets involved with that, certainly I think it's extremely important to understand how we support that, whatever is going to be done there. We would never want to see that bridge closed. And I know it's in need of some repair. So with that,
Just really briefly, if you might, thank you, Ben, for the presentation. As noted, I serve as chair of MetroCog this year. It's just really a vibrant organization that helps pivot to study and address ongoing issues, but also issues on the horizon. And you're right, the state of legislative requirements and federal highway and state highways tricky. And so Ben and staff do a great job of trying to meet that changing target, and so I really appreciate being able to serve in that capacity. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you certainly have a stellar staff to help.
We do.
They shine.
We really do. Thank you.
all right. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
You too. Take care of that cough.
I'm trying. It's actually getting better, believe it or not.
All right, next we have our public hearing. And we have a public hearing this morning in regards to a rezoning of agricultural general to highway commercial. Good morning, Matt. Do you want to? We'll give a brief explanation, then we'll open the hearing, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. This is a petition for rezoning from agricultural general to highway commercial, just southeast of Baker. It's about 1.2 miles south of Highway 52 on the east side of County State Aid Highway 21. Looking to do the rezoning. Basically used to be a home occupation business that's become very successful and kind of outgrown that home occupation classification. So
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I'll
Right.
make a
Right.
motion to open the public hearing.
okay, we have a motion to open,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay, so we, and this went through Planning Commission?
Did, yep.
Okay.
Yep, so, yes, the request is to rezone the property from ag general to highway commercial. It's currently, an industrial residential. There's about just under 20,000 square feet of industrial buildings in one residence. This would meet all of the highway commercial standards for minimum lot size, minimum yard width, or lot width, our front yard setback regulations, rear yard setback regulations, side yard, and then lot coverage regulations as well, and the big one being an access to a public right-of-way. So it started as a home occupation, has grown substantially. They have 31 employees. They have plans for an 8,000 square foot building expansion. And the owner just intends to move the residents from the property just because when you have a home occupation, it's typically the business is kind of accessory to the residence. And this has gotten to the point where he's been so successful that the residence is now kind of accessory to the business on the property. So.
All right.
We haven't received any comment from the township. We've received comment from the Barnesville EDA. They're in support of this, just because the EDA doesn't support just businesses and growth in the city of Barnesville, but also the Barnesville School District, of which this is a part of. And then we just did receive one comment from a neighboring landowner, just wanting some information on property value impacts.
All right.
So this would meet all of our comprehensive plan goals and objectives relative to this request. The Planning Commission did make positive findings of fact. So essentially, based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission and staff recommendation, it would be to approve the request to rezone the parcel from ag general to highway commercial. Timing on this, just because there is a residence on the property, I would add the caveat that the rezoning shouldn't take effect until the residence is removed from the property. So that would be the trigger that would essentially result in the rezoning.
And the applicant is aware of that?
Yep. Okay. Yep, we've talked kind of extensively about that as well, and it's agreeable to that.
Okay, any questions of the board? Any questions of the board? Any applicant, any? Okay, Matt covered all? All right, okay. Yes, Commissioner Woodrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just might add also a comment in regards to the economic development component. This business has been a long-standing business in Clay County. There's been some ownership changes, and obviously Mr. Syverson is doing a great job. The ability to employ folks out in the rural areas of Clay County is really important. My husband worked at that classic cabinets in high school, and it's just really great to have all sorts of different economic opportunities for folks looking for employment, but also to foster business within Clay County. And I really appreciate the staged approach to this. I know the applicants worked with the watershed in regards to addressing some challenges with drainage and highway. The highway department has also been really active in that too. And so I wholeheartedly support what's being asked of us today.
All right. Anything else? We have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Kravinoff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, what's the board's wishes?
Just would make a motion to approve the rezoning of the subject property as presented in the packet.
And that would also then, we would also then adopt the Planning Commission's findings of fact?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Okay, any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, so that goes into effect as soon as that house is removed.
Correct.
All right, very good.
All right.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Our next item is bid opening for SAP 014-645-002. Okay, we got to wait now. Oh, no, we're on time. Okay.
We're good.
Here we have our engineer. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning. So the first item that I have is a bid opening, so it's for the mill and overlay project in Dilworth. We did receive 3 complete bids this morning. I will start with the engineer's estimate at $382,592.50. The first bid we received was from Central Specialties Incorporated. Their bid was $332,298.00. $332,298.00. The second bid we received was from Mark Sand and Gravel Company. Their bid was $304,747.50. $304,747.50. And the final bid we received was from Northern Improvement Company out of Fargo. Their bid was $237,707.25. $237,707.25. Guess any
It's a little different.
questions? Yeah, there's quite the difference.
One question, Mr. Chair. Could you give the public overview of that project in Dilworth, what street that is?
Yep, so it's CASA 45, so it goes from the stoplight right by the Casey's gas station, south 2 blocks, and then east to the BNSF rail yard, and then north on 7th to Highway 10. So it's just a little horseshoe in Dilworth.
Right. And this is subject to Dilworth approval too then?
Nope, so Dilworth, about a month and a half ago, so it's required by state aid, they have to pass a resolution just saying that they agree with the project.
Okay.
There is no Dilworth funding on it. It's
Okay, so it's all CASA?
CASA Municipal.
With that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve Northern Improvement Company with the low bid of $237,707.25, as long as there's no errors on the bid.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Mojo. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right.
So the next item I have is requesting approval to advertise for SAP 14-599-106. So this is a project that's been out there for quite a while. It's a bridge removal project in Elmwood Township on 110th Avenue South. This is just north of Baker a little bit. I believe the township was first approached in 2019 with this project because the bridge had met its service life and could no longer be open. So we had initially put together a set of plans to just remove the bridge and close it. And then one landowner had kind of expressed interest in having a horseshoe by the railroad tracks. So we explored that option. The landowner wasn't willing to sell the right of way, so the township went back to the initial just removal with a cul-de-sac put in at the end of it. And I did get Elmwood Township's approval on this. Being it is a bridge removal project, Elmwood doesn't have to pay anything for this project. It's all covered by township bridge funds.
Okay.
And then the proposed letting date would be June 3rd.
All right. Do we have you put an estimate on something like that, or?
We do, pull it up really fast. That's not, but that isn't something that we show on our 5-year plan. just
Right,
because it's-
right. It's fully funded by the bridge fund?
Township bridge fund, yeah.
Township bridge fund, yeah, okay.
Just over 200,000.
Over two, okay. All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve the bridge removal.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the advertisement of the removal project with the letting date of June 3rd as reported.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion?
One question?
Yep, Bear.
Township bridge funds, that does not come out of the county budget, correct?
No,
That's all I had.
it's something that's in our budget, it's kind of an in and an out, but it's
Yeah.
not, it's something that comes, the township bridge fund gets based on how many deficient bridges you have, and then it's a portion of the gas tax.
Yeah. But dictated by the state.
Correct.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carried. All right, next we have the grant agreement.
Yeah, so this is, I'm requesting approval of the MnDOT grant agreement and resolution. So this is for the bridge replacement project on County Road 51, southeast of Comstock, right by the Trap Club. So we did open bids and accepted bids on this project, and as required by MnDOT for the use of bridge bond funds, I have a grant agreement and the supporting resolution for your consideration and approval.
All right, so we're looking for approval of resolution 2025-14.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve MnDOT Agreement 1057885 and Resolution 2025-14.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carried. All right.
And I will just make one note on that bridge project. Commissioner Mojo, I know we had discussed potentially opening it just for the vehicular traffic, so we did go inspect it yesterday. We will be opening it this week with the heavy restriction on it.
All right, that's really good news. Thank you.
All right, so next we have a proposal for an engineering design services.
Yes, so the next item I have is a proposal from Houston Engineering to provide engineering design services. So this is for the Clay County 37-foot road improvements on CSA 1 and CSA 26. So this work is included with our 37-foot MOU with the Diversion Authority, and the fees that are incurred by Houston will be reimbursed by the Diversion Authority.
And this is one of those items that the Diversion Authority has agreed that engineering and the studying and all that stuff is to move forward.
Correct.
Okay. All right. We're looking for a motion to approve the proposal from Houston Engineering.
Mr. Chair, I put forth a motion to approve the proposal from Houston Engineering.
Okay, we have a motion. This is a motion by Commissioner Every, second by Commissioner Krabbenhoff. And I noticed the time frame on that design study goes into 2026.
So the intent of the design would be, so CSA 26 is on our 5-year plan for next year. So I didn't want to do the mill and overlay before this project. I wanted to do them at the same time. So the intent would be to have the CSA 26 portion done early in 2026 to where hopefully we can bid that project out next spring. That's kind of a package.
Okay, okay.
So you don't think it'll take to the 27th of March of next year?
Hopefully not.
Okay. Yeah, because that's kind of a critical component to the whole project.
Definitely. And it's something that I've been working with Houston on too. A lot of times they just, in case there is changes to the actual proposal or anything like that, they put a date in there that covers them essentially.
Okay. All right. And we do have a motion on that. Yeah, okay. All right, any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carried. All right, next, you're a little bit ahead, but we can go ahead with a closed session ahead of schedule, right? All right, so our next item is a closed session to discuss highway easement acquisitions for attorney-client privilege pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05. Is there a motion to close?
So move.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in closed session. All right, we are back in session. Sarah, we had Commissioner Ebinger do the motion to open, second by Commissioner Gravenhoff. So that was approved. So, all right, so we have some discussion regarding the Highway 52, CSAH 52 and CSAH 12 road project. And we have been presented with an appraised value on those to go forward to the landowners. What's the board's wishes?
I'll make a motion to move forward with appraised value of said property on CSAH 52 and CSAH 12 roundabout improvement project.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Krabanoff. Any further discussion? Does that define enough for the record what we were doing? Okay. All right, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, thank you, Justin. All right, we are just about 5 minutes out of schedule. Is Matt, who's going to do the?
Here he comes.
All right, next we have on our agenda, it's a request for approval of the retail cannabis fee schedule. Matt?
Morning, Mr. Chair and
again.
Commissioners. So as you know, we're getting close to cannabis licensing going through in the state of Minnesota. I would anticipate we could potentially in Clay County see some sort of the Office of Cannabis Management reach out for their basically pre-registration of businesses, site evaluations, zoning compliance, and things like that happening this month. So with that, just kind of requesting that we set a cannabis and lower potency edible product fee schedule. This would be for the retail components of the cannabis industry. Retail cannabis businesses are required essentially to register with whatever jurisdiction that they're going to operate in. They cannot operate without that registration. And we have the ability to set fees for each type of business, an initial registration fee, and then a subsequent annual renewal fee. And so what I'm proposing is essentially the maximum for every category that we would be allowed to that we would be allowed to for registration, and then also with violations as well. There can be a up to $2,000 penalty per violation for each occurrence, and or up to a 30-day suspension of a registration, and so that is included in there as well. I just figured let's go with my proposal is just go with the maximum for that as well.
Matt, these fees would only be for the unincorporated areas?
They would be for the unincorporated areas, and then if any community like Georgetown or a Felton or a Ulen decides to delegate their registration authority to the county, then they would come to us as well. And so what this would do too is allow public health to do their annual compliance checks, and then us to do our zoning verification inspections as well.
And again, I've always felt that our fees, we shouldn't be in the money-making business by having fees, but I think because this is so new, I guess I don't mind starting there, but then, because, you know, it's uncertain to what level of work you might end up having to do based on what the state passes down for requirements for inspections and those types of things. So I think it's appropriate to start here, but I do think that we should end up having a review of this after it's been up and running for a little bit. That's my personal opinion on it, again, I don't want to be charging anybody who's doing business in Clay County fees that exceed what our costs are to implement the permits, so.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Ringer.
We have had discussions with Public Health. Commissioner Grabenoff and I are working with them at looking at the retail ordinances and enforcement on this. And these are the fees and the penalties as described by the state. And it's a prudent.
The maximum.
Yes, at the maximum. And it's prudent to start there. And as you've indicated, once we don't even know what all the rules are yet.
Right.
Once we have a good lay of the land on what's involved here, it'll give us a better perspective. Easier to go back and cut back to it than to argue an increase. And as far as the enforcement goes, the state's going to have a lot more of a say in that than we're used to, but to identify the maximums that are within the guidelines now is probably the best place to start.
And then my other question would be, obviously we have cities who have decided to develop their own and have their own, so they're establishing. How have they established fee structures? Are we comparing to what, for example, the city of Moorhead has done, the city of Dilworth?
The city of Moorhead has, and I know ours, it would be very similar to what they've adopted.
Again, I think a comparison is probably appropriate.
I think they're also doing this the same in terms of the license fee and then the registration. The only difference between what Public Health and Planning and Zoning is proposing for this compared to Moorhead is Moorhead's got more of a tiered structure for violations.
Mr. Chair, I like your idea of establishing and reviewing, just for discussion purposes, just both the governor's budget and the House Omnibus bill has the removal of the aid or the 20% cannabis gross receipts funding that we are going to potentially be receiving. So if that legislation does go through, we wouldn't have those funds to fall back on to cover the costs. So.
All right. So, any other comments, or are we ready to take action on this?
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the retail cannabis fee schedule that's been included in the motion, which is maximum under state guidelines, and also the penalties as well.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Krabenoff. And can we establish a review period time frame where this comes back? I think that would be.
I would include that in the motion. 6 months.
That might be early.
That's too early, I think. I would maybe a year.
A year.
Is that, yeah.
A year might be even too early with.
Right, I was
in
actually.
Minnesota, who knows how.
Yeah, I was actually thinking maybe 18 months or 2 years, but.
Well, it would help to get through a couple legislative sessions, so 2-year review on this would be good.
Right, are you willing to include that in your
I
motion?
want to include that.
All in your second as well, so we have a motion then to approve the fees with a review to occur 2 years, in 2 years' time frame. All right, any further discussion on that motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. We will take a 5-minute break.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners.
Thank you. All right, we are now back in session. Item number 13 is the request approval for Justice Center Plan with the Department of Corrections. And I just want to point out that items 13, 14, 15, and 16 on today's agenda have all gone through multiple discussions at our building committee level. Joe has been really informing of us over these plans as they've occurred, and so all these presentations that we're going to be doing on these 4 items have all gotten the approval of the building committee after some considerable discussion. So, Joe, we'll start with you on 13.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. Good morning, board members. So yes, we're going to talk the probation justice center plan first, and there's a lot of moving parts to this, so I'll try to keep it explained as simple as I can. I have Dale here to just in case you have any operational from the DOC questions. I've definitely we've worked I would say this past year, I think we've had several meetings and visiting on their future needs, and what we're proposing today is a probation, we're calling it a probationary justice center plan, and as you guys know, prior to 2018, there really is 2 departments, 2 divisions, I guess. One is called juvenile probation, we'll call it, and the other one is adult felony probation. And so there's 2 of those divisions. Prior to 2018, they both resided over in the juvenile center. And once that project, the remodel of the juvenile center happened, we needed a place for them to stay. So we ended up moving the juvenile division over to the family service center at the time. And then at that point, adult felony probation moved over onto East End, where they currently reside now. So one of the visions of the building committee is to make any tenants in this building in the courthouse would be a true justice center function, and so we've always kind of kept that in mind. And so one of the goals is to try to get the adult felony probation back on campus, and so we've worked on a way to do that. Currently, right now, we didn't feel like we had enough space to get them both together at this point, and so we've come up with some options to have the juvenile side move, who is currently over on the first floor, over into our family service center again, back where they reside, or where they used to be on Suite 201. We would then work with the state to bring them over, bring the adult side over and have them be on the first floor as well. And then the state would then bring $150,000 of funding to help remodel a court. Right now there's a hearing room 5 down below. They would help us remodel that. Now we give them the 4 offices and a private bathroom to give you enough space to operate on the adult felony side. So with that, what we're asking to move forward with that plan. One of the things that would be open and transparent about is I've worked with Darley on this. She is HRA and she rents currently 201. Puts a little wrinkle in her plan, but I've visited with her and she plans to move her employees back over into Dilworth. So she is good with this plan as well. And other than that, I think we're working on a contract. It's going to take it's going to take a little while. I would say we're going to expedite it, but we have everything in place. They're going to give us the $150,000 to do it. And with that, Dale, do you have anything as far as how you feel this would work for the adult, for your probation in general?
Yeah, I think this would streamline the probation and parole process for our office. Because our felony office is not.
Dale, can you move your mic a little bit closer to you?
Sure.
Thank you.
Because our felony office is not located on campus, that creates some problems between the time of sentencing and the time of reporting to probation. I think the closer that we get to the courtroom, hopefully that eliminates some of those barriers for us. As you can imagine, when warrants are issued that involves the court, prosecution, defense attorneys, law enforcement, everybody is involved. And so circumventing that by getting them into the office immediately following sentencing would really, I think, benefit the county greatly. So I think this is a fantastic move in the right direction.
And maybe if I could, Mr. Chair, and I mentioned at the building committee, the county attorney's office would be very much in support of this. And I don't exactly want to speak on behalf of the court system, but I know from other meetings previously and talking with judges, I am certain they would be supportive of this, just exactly what Dale was talking about, and the idea of streamlining. Oftentimes, you're in court, you're getting done with matters in court, say at 4 o'clock, 4:15, and you're telling a probationer, well, get in contact with, tomorrow, because you won't be able to get over to their office, that kind of thing. Or so, but even just being right there in the same building, or being able to step right out of the courtroom, set up your appointment for whenever that is to get your probation started. I mean, all those matters will very much streamline and help to with efficiency within the court process. So I think this is very good, and will be very helpful.
Yeah, and, just to kind of expand on that, the juvenile side that would be moving into Suite 201 in the Family Service Center, we did a fit-up project in Suite 201 over there that was specifically for the juvenile, for their operation. So the easy move back, there won't be any fit-up costs there, and they're connected to the juvenile center, so there are benefits of the juvenile side being over in the Family Service Center, and should work out pretty good there. If we end up, the state's gonna fund the $150,000 to remodel Hearing Room 5 down there. That's gonna give the county some additional revenue to do that. So we're gonna, somewhere, $14,465 would be extra revenue added above and beyond that we would be making. So the state would actually rent the entire first floor south and northeast side of the courthouse. So they would have a total, we'd have a total revenue of $66,027.48. So that's total for that. And I did reach out, Gertz Construction is construction manager. We did get a proposal, and we do have a price coming in at $146,079.71. So we are, so I guess well, first questions from the board.
Well, not necessarily a question, but I do want to comment that, part of our long-term strategic goal that we've been talking about through the building committee was to, obviously, this become a true justice center, and so everything that's in this building should really pertain to issues related to justice issues, the courts, and county attorneys, and those types of things. So, and unfortunately, at this point in time, we don't have room for both the adult and juvenile. But we did feel it was extremely important to keep juvenile on campus. And so the best option was moving them back to the Family Service Center, which is still close by here anyway from that standpoint. Who knows, down in the future when more opportunities arise, there might be some additional availability within this building for them. My question on the Gertz proposal.
Yep.
Is that something, how about a bidding requirement? Do we have issues there? Or?
No, since they're gonna be the construction manager on that, so they have multiple bids, like similar to our other projects that we did that were larger. They have multiple bids for painter, drywall, so from a procurement standpoint,
So we would be hiring them as a construction manager?
Correct, yep. We would hire them, have a contract with them directly, and then they'd provide all that multiple quotes to it, so.
I think we should make that clear within our motion then.
Yep, we can do that, yep.
Any other questions? Commissioner Krabnoff.
More just wanting to know, when you talk about HRA moving out and then revenues coming back in, what was the rent that HRA was paying?
HRA was paying annually $38,275 a year, yep.
So the 66, is that a net?
Okay, so to explain it this way, the contract side of Clay County currently right now leases down below here on first floor, which is roughly somewhere around that 49,000. By them moving over into the Family Service Center, they're going to actually have a savings of $10,000. You can call it savings, but the county covers the cost of the rent for the contract side.
Yeah.
So we're going to shift that over, and they're going to pay $38,000, the juvenile contract side, and then the state will then come in and pay for down below.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I'm certainly supportive of it, and I'm certainly glad that HR is able to amenable to making the moves.
Yeah, I visited with Dara a few different times, and we've had some good conversations.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
This went through the building committee with strong support, so.
Yeah.
All right. Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, just, if we're ready to move forward, I'll make a motion that the Juvenile Center plan in collaboration with the Department of Corrections include the approval to terminate the Clay County HRA lease agreement effective September 29th, 2025. Approve the Juvenile Probation Department to lease Suite 201 in the Family Service Center starting November 1st, 2025. Approve Adult Felony Probation Department to lease northeast and south wings of the first floor courthouse starting November 1st, 2025, and approve the proposal from Gertz Construction for the northeast fit-up project on the first floor of the courthouse for the amount of $146,079.71. And Gertz will be the contractor at risk to arrange with subcontractor bids on this.
All right, we have a motion.
I'll second that.
A motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion?
Real quick, I don't want to embarrass Dale, but we had our first criminal justice meeting this last week, and you're really stepping up and getting the entire system involved and aware of the progressive things that are going on here. And I'm glad that we can support you in getting back on campus. And I was very impressed by the opportunities that are offered to people who want to straighten their lives out, as opposed to probation being a coercive mechanism. So I am glad we're able to support you in this way.
Thank you very much for saying that.
All right, very good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, those things are done.
All right. Thank you, Dale.
All right, next, Joel, we have the approval of the Attorney expansion project.
All right. So this project is something also ran by the building committee here. I worked with Brian Melton over here in the attorney's office. We're calling it an expansion project. We're not really expanding the area per se, but we're expanding his ability to put a couple people in this area by adding a couple walls. It's a very minor construction project. Maybe, Ryan, you want to speak a little bit on your needs of it? Or?
I think that's really about it. It's a somewhat smaller project. As you recall, we moved the victim services upstairs across from where Dale and probation will be, but into that area. They're comfortable up there now, and that open area that was left by them is area that we can utilize and expand into to have office space for future attorneys. So this is largely future expansion growth to allow for attorney space, and then eventually also legal assistant space. And so with some leftover money, this seemed to be a good time to complete that project.
Yep, and we do have that funding in our Fund 13th building project. So we have TF Powers has given us a price of $13,425, and I guess permission to move forward on that project.
All right.
I just have one.
Yeah.
This also went to the building committee with support. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the attorney expansion project.
Second.
You have a motion from Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger, to approve the attorney expansion project in the amount of $13,425. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, item number 15, request approval of light replacement project.
Okay, so this one here is, I did a lighting assessment on the Family Service Center. Currently, right now, they're all the older T8 fixtures. Did a light count on that. We have 1,045 of those left in this building. We've put a few in on the first floor during COVID times, and we were able to see some pretty significant savings on our energy bill there. So I did an assessment there and went out and got 2 quotes. And what I'm asking today is to move forward with the project, and what that would do is, we have about an estimated annual savings of $40,000 to the energy bill. And so I would ask to move forward with that, and then I'd go after a rebate that has an estimated cost of $20,000. So I have two quotes here, and I'm asking permission to move forward with it using CB Electric at $106,865, and then this fund would come out of the Enterprise Family Service Center Enterprise Fund, and talk with Lori. We have plenty of funds to do that, and so this looks like it'd be about roughly a 2-year payback after all said and done. So, questions?
Yeah, again, this was, Lori serves on our building committee too, and she did agree that there were sufficient funds within the enterprise fund for that facility to handle that without ruining Joe's budget, so.
Yeah.
With a 2-year payback, roughly.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
2 years, yep.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the Family Service Center lighting replacement project using CB Electric in the amount of $106,865.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Kravinoff. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. And lastly, Joel, we have the request approval for the fit-up project for Suite 200 and 404 in the Family Service Center.
All right, so if you recall, within about a year ago, worked with the building committee, we got a plan to, has now moved out, and we had a plan to have Family Service Center, or the social services move into that wing, and then on the second floor, deaf and hard of hearing will be leaving at the end of June, and so we have a plan to move in public health into those two wings. So what I've done is priced out both of them in conjunction together with the idea that we would start right away on the fourth floor, get that done, and have it done in time for July 1st, and then that's the time we'd get into the second floor. So what I did is I met with both Kathy McKay and Quinn. We went over, what their needs are, their operation, how they want to see the flow of the office go, and there wasn't too many actual structural changes, so we do have a little bit of minor construction in the fourth floor, but basically got with them, put together a price to do this, and unlike the Gertz one, we've kind of really chopped this one down, and Brian and I are going to be running it as the general project managers on this. So you can see I've attached a list of vendors, and we have a total amount of $117,726.90, and we're proposing to fund this out of Fund 13. Currently, we have $133,859 in there. So, and for those of you unfamiliar with Fund 13, we get roughly $50,000 a year in that one through a tax system there, and we use that for fit-ups and carpet paint and all that stuff. So we felt this was a good projects to use this funds out of. So, questions?
Any questions? Once again, this was another one that was approved by the building committee. So fourth floor would be done and ready to move in July?
Yeah, July 1st, they'd move in, and then we'd head right over to second floor, and hoping that wouldn't take, it's a little smaller, so that would probably be done late summer with that one, so.
Okay. What's the board's wishes?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
move to approve the cost breakdown vendor list for the total project cost of the fit-up project for Suites 200 and 404 and Family Service Center for total cost of $117,726.90.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
could, while we have Joe here, I just wanted to, on behalf of the building committee, as Joe's leaderships, as you see, several projects here today, but it's not just those. He does a great job keeping us up to date with the different things that are needed in the project from a planning standpoint that allows that committee to kind of look not just into this timeframe, but into the future. And so we appreciate Joe's work.
Yeah, so I appreciate, I was going to say, I do appreciate the board's support on all this, but building committee really has helped guide this process. So they ask me questions, tough questions, when I don't have the answer. So I appreciate it, so thank you.
All right, thank you, Joe. All right, so we were a little bit ahead of time. Gwen, do you have everybody here that you need to have here for this next item? All right, item number 17 on the agenda, request approval of letter of support for Helping Hands Wellness LLC.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. As you said, I'm here requesting a motion to approve providing a written letter of support to Helping Hands Wellness. We have their owner and operators here as well. They're a private provider. They're seeking to establish an integrated outpatient substance use and mental health treatment center here in Clay County. In accordance with state certification requirements under Minnesota rules, the provider must obtain a statement of support from the county board in which the services will be offered. That's why I'm here in front of you today. Met with these gentlemen earlier, with Person Lepard as well. We had a lot of discussion on what the needs are in our community in terms of substance use treatment. The good news is Helping Hands, according to my information from these gentlemen, they're ready to begin operations immediately. They've secured a physical office space in Moorhead. They have 3 staff members, including a nurse practitioner, an LADC, and a behavioral health technician. With this team in place, they are prepared to begin offering integrated outpatient services that address both mental health and substance use disorders through dual focus, evidence-based approach. Their model is aligned with best practices and has been shown to produce stronger recovery outcomes by treating the co-occurring conditions at the same time in a coordinated way. A lot of our conversations did go to kind of the needs for adolescents in our community. They're very open to really exploring the provision of services for adolescents. Right now, that's a huge need in our community. I believe the conversation was after about 6 months of opening, really looking to expand into the adolescent services. So starting with adults right now, but moving into adolescents. Again, long-term goals includes potentially expanding into an inpatient treatment. I think the more of those that we have in our community with having options for folks that need that is good. Another unique element of Helping Hands in our conversations is the fact that they have a van, which will be able to assist in some of the transportation barriers that a lot of our folks see. I know I was here a few months ago talking about this as well, and the location very close to a bus stop was very appealing. However, Helping Hands has a van, which is a wonderful kind of mitigating factor to a lot of the transportation needs that our clients see. I believe having another provider based directly in Clay County will improve accessibility to help ensure that our residents can access care without crossing state lines. Increasing the number of qualified providers within the county will expand client choice, which I also think is always a good option, allowing individuals to select the provider that really best aligns with their needs and preferences. With that, I would yield for any questions that you may have, either to me or to the 2 gentlemen sitting next to me.
Commissioner Mojo.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Thanks also for the briefing document on the work that you hope to provide in Clay County. Can you help me get a better understanding? Are you currently connected with a telehealth provider? Is that the thought, is that you'd set up the facility in Moorhead and contract with someone elsewhere, or is that individual offering the therapy in person?
Commissioner Mojo, maybe if I can, Quinn, can you just maybe do a quick introduction of these, and then they can answer the question.
Yes, I've got Benjamin Magby right here, and then can you introduce yourself, please?
Just so.
Okay, all right, welcome.
Thank you guys for having us here today.
Okay.
So to that question, are you anticipating to provide telehealth or in-person?
It's going to be in person.
Okay, in person.
Yes, ma'am.
And so is Helping Hands currently operating a facility or the supports now? Or are you connected with another group?
No,
the clinic, is it a clinic site?
Yes. It is, yeah.
Okay, so is there a physical site in Clay County now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so, just trying to understand a little bit about your organization, tried to search a little bit online, and there's there's not a whole lot about Helping Hands online, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you connected with TM counseling in the cities? How does that connection?
If I can say, we haven't started yet,
Okay.
so we just need the letter of support, so
Okay.
we can start.
Okay, so there isn't a current site in Clay County. The hope is that with this letter, that would be the opening.
Yeah, we secure an office space already.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
have the site.
Mhm.
So you're not connected with TM counseling at all?
No, we're not. So we have our own staffs,
Okay,
and basically we're just waiting for the letter of support to be able to operate.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
do you have any operating locations right now within the state? Do you have any offices opened elsewhere?
No, sir.
No.
No, right now.
Okay, what is your previous experience with providing mental health care?
So I used to have a group home, and I also grew up in foster care. So I love helping people. And my group home that I had in Arizona was mental health and substance abuse. I had 2 group homes. My brother and I was running it for several years, and I passed the business on to him because I moved. So he's the one that running it right now, and I just move over and say, let me open something and be in the same field and continue to help people.
Okay, are you going to be able to have the level of staffing that you'll be able to bill insurance and meet some of the requirements that the state has for providing this care?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, and right now, how big a staff do you have?
So then we'll have I think it's Psych NP?
Yeah, we have a nurse practitioner.
Nurse practitioner?
Yeah, we have LADCs.
LADC and...
Yeah, we have behavioral health technicians.
I think those are listed in the attached document in the letter.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner.
This is to Quinn. So what is this letter of support actually doing?
It's my understanding that the rules require the county board to provide a letter of support saying that we could use another treatment provider in the boundaries of Clay County. Anyone that wants to provide this service within the borders of Clay County is required to get a letter of support from county commissioners.
So then they could operate, if they don't get the letter of support, they can't operate in Clay County?
That's my understanding.
That's dictated by the state?
Correct.
So Quinn, were you done, Commissioner?
Yeah,
So if we're, and of course, anytime we put our name to something, it's kind of important that we have, some kind of, I guess my question, Quinn, is what kind of oversight would Clay County have on this moving forward? Is there any oversight on our part?
We don't oversee the treatment providers. That'd be the state, the licensing process.
Okay, so they go through a strict guidelines, and that's provided by the state in order to stay licensed.
Stay licensed and to bill.
Yeah.
In order to bill insurance.
And to bill, okay. So they have to meet all that criteria.
Correct.
Okay. And again, when, we were recently asked to supply another letter of support on something that's proposed in Clay County, and we weren't quite ready to do that because we didn't have enough information, one way or another, to do that. And I guess in this particular, so then there's no funding obligation through the county either on this?
None at all. To speak to any sort of cost impact, I don't expect this to result in any increased spending in terms of social services budget, really by expanding access to additional outpatient services. There's a potential to reduce reliance on more expensive treatment options through the behavioral health fund and the county share that goes into the behavioral health fund. So basically, if folks are able to get early preventative outpatient treatment, they may not need residential treatment.
Well, certainly what they're proposing to do here is something extremely needed. I don't think we don't have anywhere near enough in this regard to help. I guess Can you speak to the clientele, what you would, how many different folks would you be able to help at one time? And this is all outpatient?
Correct. It is, yeah.
Okay.
So we're trying to help as much as we can, because like a lot of people need help in our field. So we're trying to provide as much services as we can. We're trying to also branch to like this.
Adolescent, probably like in 6 months.
Months or so, yeah.
Since we noticed like the Clay County need adolescent treatment program.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. One, I just really appreciate folks identifying needs in the community and gaps in care. So my questions don't negate how important that is. I really do think it's important. I'm just trying to get a better grasp. I serve on a mental health board, understanding, the financial components behind it and the challenging scope that we will see with Medicaid and Medicare and reimbursables and federal funding pieces. So understanding that there will be, a question on the financial piece of it. And so are we prepared for that? Do we understand that challenging landscape?
Yeah, we prepare for it because we already been in this field before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the field before was only Arizona?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Krabanoff.
Just a comment. I'm certainly wish you all the success. I certainly support this. Again, the need is great, and I welcome you to our community, starting a new business, and in a very important area. Thank you.
Thank you. I
Thank you
appreciate
very
you. Thank
much.
you.
So do you have, will your facility, will there be recommendations will there be referrals to your agency? Is that how that will work? Or how will your clientele know about it?
Yes, from referral, we'll have some brochures, and we're also working on our website to build a website as well.
Okay, okay.
And I can speak to that too. Once assuming letter of support is granted and all the necessary licensing is approved by the state, and you open the doors and start serving folks, at that point in time, Kirsten's staff will likely, we'll bring them to our building, we'll kind of educate our staff on a new service provider, and then give our clients that we serve different choices based on the recommendations that come from their comprehensive assessments.
All right. Kirsten, you have anything you want to say to this? Yes, Commissioner Bear.
This is for Quinn. How many service providers are like this in Clay County?
Not enough.
No, not enough.
Not enough, but
I don't want to tell you the wrong number, so Anchorage, I'm estimating 4 or 5 right now. Of note, I have been contacted by another provider looking to get another letter of support as well. However, I'm not prepared to bring that to board yet. Kirsten and I do kind of a pre-vetting process before it's brought to you to make sure the facility has kind of what's needed, can they meet the needs, and kind of do a pre-vetting of the request prior. So I wouldn't be surprised within the next several weeks if I'm not back again.
like you received this in November?
Yeah.
I think the request here is to, I think our request is to say there is a need for this. That's the request that comes before this board. We'd be lying if we said we didn't. So from that standpoint, but and I guess anytime that there's a new facility, we can only hope that there's cooperation and understanding with what the state rules and regulations will be in operating, and that goes beyond what our responsibilities are here. And I guess with that, I am kind of with Commissioner Krabanoff. I thank you for being willing to provide a service that is very much needed in this community, probably and throughout the state. Your work, moving forward, your work wouldn't necessarily be with us, but it would be with the state of Minnesota in terms of all your requirements that she would deal with. And certainly, working through Quinn and Kirsten and their staff here, hopefully they can provide you with, or provide some of our residents who might need these services, a recommendation to you and moving forward, so.
Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else have any? All right, what's the board's wishes? We have a request for a letter.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Everett.
I move that we approve providing a written letter of support, identifying the needs in our community that may be addressed by Helping Hands Wellness, PLLC, which offers substance use and mental health treatment services.
A second.
And we have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Krabenoff. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, that letter will go out.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
You have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, next we have the Children's Mental Health Local Advisory Council Annual Report. Quinn, are you gonna?
I'm just going to introduce, and then I'm going to be quiet.
All right.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. We have Michelle Thordahl, our Child Protection, Child Welfare Supervisor from Social Services. Sorry, gap there. And then Joni Mendenwald from the Village. I'm going to let them give you the annual Children's LAC update.
Thank you for having us. Again, Commissioners, Chair, the goal of local advisory councils is really to bring together diverse voices and lived experiences to help improve mental health services for Minnesota and Clay County. Some of the current projects and initiatives that we've worked on in the last year are updated. We updated our logo for some refreshed branding. It was time. We wanted to increase some visibility in the community and thought that would be a good way to do that. Working on updating our resource brochure, which has been around for many years, and it was time for an update. So that's a work in progress, but something that we're dedicated to doing. Working on making our website more accessible to the public. Feeling like that would be a way for people to access information about the LAC if they wanted to be involved. We created a marketing task force where we purchased items for promotional items to be given out at community and school events. We did secure a billboard in Moorhead in honor of May being Mental Health Awareness Month. We've done that for a number of years, and it has our new logo on there, so we're excited about that. We also, the board approved a motion to allocate up to $2,000 to support families' mental health needs during the summer months. So we received 2 grant requests last summer, and they were approved to Solutions and Lakeland Mental Health. And both of those grants went to their summer programs to increase availability to families who maybe otherwise wouldn't have been able to access those and provide other activities to the kids. And we also had some gift cards that we had left over from a promotional from years ago that we donated to Public Health for them to purchase some needed items to give to families, such as diapers and wipes.
One of the biggest projects that the LAC does is an annual survey that goes out to our community. And so I'll highlight just a couple of the pieces from the survey that we sent out to caregivers and parents within our community. So total this year, we had 102 responses on our parent survey and 52 responses on our provider survey. One of the newer things that we offered this year, kind of as an incentive, was a raffle to win one of 4 $25 gift cards to all of those who completed the survey. So that was something we did this year to see if we could increase participation. Although we've been doing really well with participation in the last few years, we thought it might just be a nice perk. So a couple of the questions that we asked that we'll highlight for you this morning is when we ask the parents if they know how to access services in our community when they're looking for mental health for their children, We were really happy to see that 34% of those asked said that they absolutely felt very confident in knowing how to access mental health services for their kids if they were to be needed. When we asked about any barriers that they have in accessing the mental health services we offer in the community, it was a pretty close response rate between those who said that they had and had not experienced barriers. The top 3 barriers that were identified were long wait times in getting in for services, insurance challenges, including being underinsured, non-insured, or having high copays or deductibles that were unaffordable, and transportation barriers to get to or from those appointments. We also asked the parents and caregivers what were the services that their children did receive if they were in services, and the top 3 responses for services that are being utilized by our parents and community caregivers were individual and family therapy was first, primary care was second, and third was psychiatric or medication management. We also asked the parents how they would rate their child's well-being before receiving mental health services and then after or during the child was receiving mental health services. We were really excited to see that what we saw from the respondents is that when kids were getting services, they were getting better. Parents were seeing that it was making a difference. We asked what services were needed but unavailable in our county, and the respondents identified mental health services that were free in school or after-school counseling, psychological services, more autism supports. We see a need for residential care and therapeutic foster homes as well as residential treatment facilities. And again, we continue to see daycare as a needed service that was lacking availability. In just identifying a little bit about who our respondents pool was on the parent and caregiver survey, the highest respondents were from the Moorhead area, followed closely between Ullin and Barnesville for the next level of respondents.
So for our professional survey results, we have a wide variety of respondents. We send it out countywide and have, so we try to reach a wide net. Overwhelmingly, providers are continuing to see barriers for families in accessing services. 78% say that they do see barriers. Transportation continues to be the biggest barrier that providers see in accessing services. And I think the next couple graphs show that. I won't speak to those, but we did ask the same question in the last 3 years, and we asked, do the families you serve or that you provide services to experience barriers in accessing mental health services? In the last 3 years, the survey shows that we are moving in the right direction. It looks like they're seeing less barriers in accessing those services, so we thought that that was something that was worth mentioning. Some additional questions that we asked were, what are the services that aren't available in the county or are limited? There's a shortage of inpatient mental health care options, long wait times, limited access to different services, needing more culturally specific supportive services, particularly for Native Americans and Spanish-speaking communities. Youth-focused chemical dependency services are scarce in our region. Limited foster care options and residential PRTF or QRTP facilities, often forcing families to seek care in outstate Minnesota, and access and coordination barriers. So we also asked a magic wand wish list. What would you like to see? If you had a magic wand, what would you like to see for your families? Increase funding and wages to provide better pay to reduce staff turnover. Expanding services for in-home and out-of-school mental health for flexibility and access, improving insurance access for those with private insurance, especially those burdened by high deductibles and copays, normalizing mental health education, making it a required part of school education, enhancing psychiatric access, and reducing stigma.
Some of the highlights of the LAC's work in the past year was just the continuation of mental health services in the schools. We also continue to see consumer participation and to collaborate with the Clay County Youth Leadership Council. We have strong meeting attendance and collaboration between our partners. We offer networking opportunities monthly and have been told by our partners that this is a very valued experience. We executed another successful annual survey to both parents and professionals in the community. We've continued to increase awareness of services in our community through inviting guest speakers or new agencies that offer services to children and families to come to our meetings and to speak and share their resources. And something really cool that happened this year is a county in southern Minnesota contacted our LAC to learn more about what we're doing and how we're doing it. They identified saying that we are one of the few actively operating children's LICs in the state, which we thought just really highlights the engagement from our community and our partners and our commitment to serving the kids in our community. A couple of the recommendations for action steps that the LAC has going forward is to address the low reimbursement rates. We continue to see challenges due to low reimbursement rates for those agencies and providers who do serve Minnesota kids who are on MA or on state-funded insurance programs. Unfortunately, this year we've seen a further challenge in that they have reduced reimbursement rates for those delivering CTSS services or children's therapeutic services and supports. And so that is a classification for children who have higher mental health needs than a regular child. So their needs are higher. And unfortunately, those that provide those services are no longer receiving any kind of financial reimbursement for the additional work.
Supporting workforce retention and competitiveness. Agencies are experiencing high turnover, particularly among in-home providers. A lot of the professionals are transitioning to private practice where they can see fewer clients and get paid more. There's still a significant need for services, but shortage of providers limit the access to those services. Increasing state-funded reimbursement rates would allow agencies to offer a more competitive wage and retain agency staff.
There's a noticeable gap in our community for adolescent substance abuse treatment options, both inpatient and outpatient. We continue to see kids weekly who could benefit from those services, but we just don't have them available to make those referrals.
The LAC would like to continue or to support the continued development of a PRTF facility in Clay County. There remains a significant regional need for a PRTF. Establishing a facility in Clay County would allow residents to access the necessary care closer to home, making it easier for families to remain connected and engaged in their child's treatment, ultimately supporting a more positive and lasting outcome.
Continuing to support our existing social services, specifically respite funding, the SIBS program, which is a step between it's like our last community-based step that we can have before we make a referral to a residential treatment facility, so it's really critical, and also mental health case management services.
Sustaining school-based mental health services, maintaining and expanding funding for school-based mental health programs, which play a critical role in early intervention and access to care. And we'd also like the board to consider maybe creating a task force to address transportation barriers, specifically the MAP bus routes, by increasing bus route access and stops for consumers.
Commissioner Wojcik, do you want to comment on that?
I will speak to that. I think that's really important. I think part of the problem is there's so many different tables in which we talk about all these problems, but the tables don't intersect. And so, when you have people with lived experience and your staff saying these are major issues, and we bring it forward to the planners of the world, well, if it doesn't fit into the planning scope, it's something that maybe isn't needed. And so we have to think critically about how we elevate that work. I think that's a great point. I can connect you. We can definitely figure those pieces out. It's a challenge.
It is a challenge, yeah.
But the other part is that these are vulnerable members of our community, and so we have to be the loud voices for them, and so we have to continually bring the points to the decision makers to say why it's so needed.
Yes, our work group had a very lengthy discussion on this just last week, and just how important public transportation is to those who have transportation barriers.
Yeah.
And we all identify that people are missing appointments, they're late to appointments. They no-show appointments because they just can't get there. And so anything that can be done to help assist with the routes or the timing of the routes would be something our work group would be very invested in.
So maybe because we have this on the agenda today,
Right.
I know that Steve and I are attending a meeting in the next week or two with the planners. You know, how do we bolster that discussion from what you just had to items 26? Is it you also including a letter from the dialogue for us to send as part of that packet to say we want to be part of a solution? I mean, you know, I'm trying to piggyback the efforts together and.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'd be very
That would be no
supportive
problem.
of that.
And two, I'm the chair of MetroCog this year, and so if we maybe aren't seeing what we want in regards to a response from that letter, let's put you on MetroCog.
Sure.
All right.
I would imagine some of the same issues that we're seeing here in Clay County, when it comes to transportation, they're seeing on the other side of the river as well.
Yeah, I believe so. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I
because a
think,
lot
you
of
know,
people use the busing to go across in different
Yeah.
ways, so yeah.
The timing of routes, and we heard a little bit this morning from MetroCog, you know, the timing of routes when it comes to public transportation, it, you know, for what the needs might be and timing of those, that is a really difficult one to solve that problem.
Yeah.
You might have somebody in one home who needs this transportation at this time, the buses aren't there, and somebody else is at a different time, and so that is a problem, but is it something that might require something totally unique and separate at some point in time? Might be something that needs to be discussed, so.
You know, maybe let's follow up with it. I do think today, because we are going to talk about sending a letter to the Fargo city leaders, maybe it's important that you also craft a letter together for us to send, you know, you can send that with us. Let's follow up in a meeting afterwards to talk about combining the pieces. And then I'm not sure if Lakes and Prairies serves on the committee that you were talking about, but Lakes and Prairies has a grant that they use to buy a senior transportation bus that they're currently using 1 day a week to shuttle folks back from the DMV and Walmart to get onto the existing route. And we're really not having great luck with access and that. And so how do we elevate that asset for utilization? So I think there's a few different tasks we can all tackle together. Perfect.
Quinn, I know a lot of these things that have been presented today too, and when it comes to low reimbursement rates and some of those things, I think there needs to be active work done at the legislature on some of those issues, and I think following up with Health and Human Services advocating is important, and I think it's important for us to have that information so that we can pass on resolutions of support. So you know, moving forward in that regard, the one is retention and competitiveness. That's an interesting, I haven't heard that before, where the turnover is because they're going into private practice.
Yeah, so I'm a provider in the community and I also oversee all of the villages services in Minnesota, so I see it across our service profile. A lot of providers, even young providers that are new in the field, are leaving behavioral health agencies to start their own small private practice or group practice. And they are not taking clients who have Minnesota MA or PMAP insurance because the reimbursement rate is so low. And typically, the needs of those children, families, and adults are much higher. And so they're just doing self-pay. So people who can afford to pay $200 for a 45 or 50-minute session, or those who have private insurance, where private insurance is at times reimbursing double what MA is. And so for those of us that continue to serve the medical assistance and the state-funded insurances, we have a greater population. And we continue to see less because they won't take them, so then we take them, and so then our reimbursement rates are significantly impacted because the majority of our clientele are reimbursing us at a much lower rate than if we had a higher commercial population. There was a rate study done in Minnesota by an outside agency that they hired 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and they connected with a lot of us that were part of the work group, part of the work, or part of the study that was completed, and their recommendations were significant increases to reimbursement rates because they had not been touched for over 13 years. Unfortunately, in legislation, that hasn't come through yet, and like I said earlier, we have seen a decrease actually starting in 2025. That takes away the little bit additional revenue that we got for serving higher needs kids. We're hopeful for this legislative session that there might be a positive improvement, but we continue advocating as best as we can and talking to those that make those decisions. So we're hopeful.
So you're seeing difficulty in maintaining staffing levels then at the village too, right?
Yeah, because they'll leave to go do private practice where they can work half the time and make the same, if not more money, because they're only taking self-pay or commercial insurance clients, so their income is much higher.
And then that increases the remaining staff that you have, your clientele numbers
We're getting higher amounts of those on state-funded
per
insurance.
person that you have working.
Yeah, but, and our reimbursement doesn't go up, so they want us to pay them more to stay with us so they don't leave us for private practice, but the revenue that we make on those service lines is not increasing.
Well, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
You know, what you're saying is heard, and it's, we're aware of it. We just have to think critically about how we continue to ring that bell at a higher level. You know, we've talked about unsustainable rates for a long time. DHS is defending those, and what I worry about is, you know, and with our PRTF bill, they kicked the rate piece out immediately. I mean, nobody even wanted to talk about it. And so they kicked it out because there are so many different ripples that it would cause. But what I get really nervous about is all of a sudden you change the scope of the data. So when you have providers leaving to do their own piece and you're serving a smaller pool, well, then from the outside, it looks like, oh, well, the need is going down. There's not as big of a need because we're not seeing that data speak to that. So it's skewed and it's hurtful to the whole piece of it. I think, so the House had the discussion on the Health and Human Services bill yesterday. There were some tweaks with increases to rates. Not exactly sure if they're affecting that component specifically, but I think we do need to, one, continue to advocate for the need in the next 2 weeks of session, but coming out, we have to think really critically. Do we bring this whole LAC piece together to have dialogues, to bring the state chairs in to see exactly, here's what we're seeing, here's why providers are leaving, this is the broken piece with the new commissioner of DHS. I think that's really important because I think having Clay County be as active as we have been at the state this year has really been helpful to the visibility. But I think with all of the sweeping changes and the new cost shares that we're seeing, we do need to be louder in how we speak to the legislature about how these actions are affecting us. So, I think we have a good framework of the work that's being done here. We just have to strategize how we can elevate it.
Yeah, I think we're down to probably 10 days left and 12 days left in the legislative session. It'd be wishful thinking to think that we're going to be successful in getting something added to what it probably already isn't already on the docket that's there. But clearly there's some things here that are deserving of more attention on the part of not only the Clay County Board, but county boards throughout the state. And so again, dealing with AMC, Commissioner Mojo also serves on, who's on our Health and Human Services? Paul, is that you? So some of these things we should be able to bring, through the Health and Human Services too, regarding the issues that have been raised here locally. And again, I'm assuming it's no different when you get to other counties. It's probably all the same.
Yeah, when we in our groups, it's similar discussion.
Yeah.
But again, I think it is, to follow up what's already been said, elevating it. And I know there are coalitions, but I think there has to be more task groups within that to narrow it down. You know, what is, because we have lots of priorities, but it seems like it's so finite when you get to the legislative level, what can be elevated, and you sort of got to pick one or two and go with it, you know. So I really appreciate the discussion on transportation. I think we have such a viable group. If you go to page 2 of what the handout, that group is there almost every single meeting, a part of it. And the dialogue is very robust, and it's a lot of good thinkers out there and a lot of people that are very committed to the work, the providers and the people within it. So just thank you, and for me, it's been a treat to be part of this LAC.
Well, we certainly appreciate any recommendations that you have when it comes, you know, in children's mental health. It's troubling that the access isn't there for some of those kids who need the help. I know what we will have here today for approval is the approval of the membership for the Children's Mental Health LAC membership. And I know Commissioner Krabenhoft is listed as a member of that, and I'm sure he can keep us informed as to which he does in terms of your meetings, and we'll have to come up with a better strategic plan, I think, to move forward. So with that, I think thank you for your time, and I guess with that, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the membership.
I'll offer a motion to approve the membership.
Second.
Right, we have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. And the next item we have is going to deal with mental health as well, regarding a proclamation. So if you want to hang around, you can.
Yes, with that
With
wonderful.
Quinn and Kirsten and Michelle.
Thank you.
Quinn, you want to, thank you for coming. Okay.
Yes, with that and that amazing annual report,
Yes.
would like to kick it off and see if the board would be interested in proclaiming May Mental Health Month. And I've attached a proclamation for your review. Any questions that you may have?
I think it's a great proclamation. And Ezra, would you care to kick us off?
Sure. Proclamation Mental Health Month, May 2025. Whereas the mental health is a cornerstone of the overall health, influence how individuals think, feel, act, and thrive in their daily lives, and
Whereas every person, regardless of age, background, or circumstances, faces challenges that can impact their mental health, well-being, and no one should have to navigate those challenges alone. And
whereas early identification, open dialogue, and access to timely support are vital to improve outcomes for both adults and children, strengthening families and building resilient communities. And
whereas Clay County remains steadfast in its commitment to advancing a comprehensive community-based mental health system and has established local advisory councils for both children and adults to ensure lived experiences shapes the care we provide. And
whereas the responsibility to foster mental wellness and break the stigma surrounding mental health rests with all of us, businesses, schools, healthcare providers, government agencies, nonprofits, and every citizen.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Clay County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims May 2025 as Mental Health Month in Clay County. We urge all members of our community to recommit to elevating mental health as a priority, promoting awareness and prevention, supporting those in need, and ensuring equitable, accessible care for all. Who would care to move that proclamation?
like to move the proclamation for Mental Health Month, May 2025.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kramnoff, second by Commissioner Mojo. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the proclamation is declared. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, next we have a proclamation for Foster Care Appreciation Month.
Yes, I'm
And now
going
we
to
have-
introduce and then again get out of the way. What we'd like to do, I'll kick it over to Jessica here, Jessica in the licensing unit. I'll let everybody introduce themselves. But what we'd like to do is do a brief presentation on child foster care, request the proclamation for foster care, move on to a brief presentation on childcare, and then do the same, request the proclamation for childcare. With that, I will kick it off.
Thank you, Quinn.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. We are here in recognition of Child Foster Care Appreciation Month, as well as Child Care Provider Appreciation Month. So during my annual update to the board, some questions came up with the licensing process for both program areas. So we thought we would utilize today as an opportunity to have our experts here kind of go through just a brief overview of what it takes to become a licensed provider in these two program areas in Clay County. And then we'll ask that you guys review the proclamations if you so choose. So today we will start off with Alex Ishag. She is one of our child foster care licensors. She primarily works with our relative homes.
Good morning. I just wanted to outline a little bit of the foster care licensing process, like Jessica said. We have about 48 family foster homes in Clay County, and I think a lot of times people assume it's just a lot of paperwork filling out, which it can be, but there's also about 14 hours of training that applicants go through before they become licensed. They need to fill out an application for foster care. They need to fill out an individual fact sheet. There are fingerprint-based background studies that are completed. We go through a home safety checklist when we visit with the family. So we walk through their home. We look for safety items that they have to have included in their home, such as smoke detectors, radio and flashlight that use batteries in case of emergency, those types of things. And then we also have them fill out an extensive autobiography that has a lot of personal information on there. We ask them about their background, their relationship histories, their adult children, other children that they may have cared throughout their life. We ask about their finances. We ask about the outlay of their home, just make sure they have room for children. They have to come up with policies around drug and alcohol, storage and use in their home, complaint policies in their home, and discipline policies, because in foster care, you are not allowed to do corporal punishment, which normally is thought of as spanking, and a lot of times it can be other things too, such as, which we don't ever want to think a foster parent would do, but it can include, biting a child, kicking them, saying derogatory things about them or their parents in front of a child. And then, like I mentioned earlier, they are required to do about 14 hours of online training to become licensed, and then Gail with her families is required to do around 6 hours of orientation, where she meets one-on-one with the families and talks about their autobiography and talks about their experience caring for children and why they are interested in being licensed for foster care and the types of and ages of children that they are interested in caring for. When I license relatives, I'm able to include some of the training in my orientation, so that I don't spend always 6 hours of face-to-face time with families. Sometimes it's a lot more, and sometimes it can be a little bit less because they already have children in their homes when I'm licensing them. Relatives, though, I do want to make it clear that they're required to complete the same expectations to be licensed for foster care. We just do it in a different order. I'm typically licensing relatives when they're already caring for children in the home, where Gail, when she licenses traditional foster homes, the children are not placed in the homes yet until after they become licensed. And then licensed foster care providers are required to do 12 hours of annual training after they're licensed. And then we can do a walkthrough of their home every year as well and complete that home safety checklist. Licensed providers they have a really hard job, and I say this all the time when I talk about licensing for foster care. We ask a lot of our licensed foster care homes. They are caring for children typically that aren't theirs, that they, sometimes we drop 4 children in on grandparents that have not had children in their home for a long time, and and then they have appointments, and they have to set up daycare, and they have to make time to meet with me as a licensor and a case manager, and it can be a really frustrating process, and it can be a really hard process when, you know, you haven't had a school-age child in your home for years, and now you're having to call in sick to work because you have a 3rd grader that has the flu. It's just a lot of things that people aren't expecting. But we also have a lot of really amazing foster parents, and I'm really proud to be a part of that. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the families that I work with, and I love going into their homes and getting to know them and spending time with them. Along with the licensing process, Gail, and I will say Gail because I don't do a lot of the recruiting, but Gail does a really nice job of recruiting. She has a table that she sets up with information and trying to recruit foster parents. Last year, she attended Kids Fest, the Holly Street Fair, the Inclusive Moorhead, Ulan Days, the Midco Kids Fest, and then the Fargo Dome, the Red River Advocacy Training. And then this year already, she has scheduled, they did Kid Fest just on Saturday. They will be at the Health Fair in Holly in June. They'll be at the Clay County Fair in Barnesville in July. And she's always looking for other opportunities to get out there and talk about foster care and recruit our families.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you to all those foster care parents that are out there, and we could use more, right?
We sure could. We always can.
Before we move on, I think let's deal with this proclamation, if that's okay, regarding the Foster Care Appreciation Month. Ezra?
Foster Care Appreciation Month, May 2025, whereas families are the cornerstone of every thriving community, providing children with love, identity, support, and belonging, and
whereas foster families in Clay County play a vital role in our child's welfare system, stepping forward with compassion to provide children and youth with safe, stable, and nurturing homes during times of great need, and
whereas foster families selflessly offer guidance, structure, encouragement, and unconditional care, creating a positive and lasting impact on the lives of children and families, and
whereas the influence of foster, kinship, and adoptive families often exceeds far beyond placement, offering enduring support that helps children heal, grow, and thrive, ultimately paving the way for stronger futures. And
whereas foster families not only serve with dedication and resilience, but many also open their hearts permanently through adoption, underscoring the continued and growing need for new foster families in our community. And
whereas the month of May is nationally recognized as Foster Care Appreciation Month, a time to honor and celebrate the extraordinary individuals and families who embrace one of the most important and challenging roles in our community. Now therefore, we, the Clay County Board of Commissioners, proudly proclaim May 2025 as Foster Care Appreciation Month in Clay County. We extend our deepest gratitude to all foster, kinship, and adoptive families and call upon all the citizens to recognize their unwavering commitment. We also encourage community members to take action, whether by fostering, supporting foster families, or advocating for youth, to help ensure every child has the love and support they deserve.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the proclamation.
second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. The proclamation is declared. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Jessica?
Yes, next we have Julie Clear and Karen Hallam to go over a review of the family child care licensing process and just talk a little bit about their recruitment that they do in the community and then our numbers. So go ahead.
Hello, I'm Julie. Our current numbers that are licensed for in-home family child care are 130 in Clay County, and we currently have Besides that, 11 in-process applicants. With our recruitment, it overlaps what Gail does for foster care, so we're often out there together. Some of the events include Kid Fest, Clay County Fair, Holly Rodeo, Midco Kid Fest, Holly Health Fair. The City of Barnesville has a growth meeting, so Karen and I have been out there many times trying to enhance businesses to welcome and support family child care there. We've gone to MSUM, the technical college, for their events. We also have on our Clay County website some interviews from current providers that have offered their assistance in answering specific questions to entice people to apply. Those are still currently on our website. We do a no commitment orientation, and there is no fee to apply.
I'm Karen, one of the licensors. Some of the committees Julie and I are on, we do a lot of regional meetings with childcare groups, with other licensors from the region. We're part of the ECI, or Early Childhood Initiative. We're part of the Childcare Solutions Group. That's actually a newer one that we have. That's with other community members. One of the newer ones is the Clay County Early Childhood Fund. I'm a part of that one. I think you got some information on that to hand out. We're excited about that, up and running. The grants are now open. And the appreciation groups, we send out with collaboration with CAP-LP. We will send out appreciation acknowledgements in the form of some gift cards and things like that to show our appreciation for our providers. And that's center and home base.
Some of the steps that we take for licensing, when an application comes in, it'll either be assigned to myself or Karen. We tell them that it takes approximately 3 to 4 months to become licensed. The majority of that is waiting for cleared backgrounds through the Minnesota Net Study process. Anyone in the household age 13 and over needs a cleared background. Once that is completed, we will also check 3 references of non-related personal references for themselves. They have a form to fill out for us where they can note concerns or anything that they think is important. We do initial home visits with paperwork. We talk about their contract and policies that they must have in place. We look for home safety issues and see if there's a need for a fire inspection. If there is and they meet criteria for that, we'll help them with the referral and the $50 cost that they must pay for the fire marshal to come out. Either Clay County Fire Department or the state fire marshals will do that. We help with a liaison between the Wayfinder Group, which is another organization that can help support them through the licensing process. Grant coordinators, there's a lot of Minnesota grants out there that can help them get started, and ongoing support as well. We also have a mentor program in our Clay County. We have 5 currently licensed providers who offer support not only through the application process, but as they are licensed, they can help mentor them. A lot of them enjoy that. The mentors really take pride in being a Clay County mentor. And I believe we're the only county in the state that does mentorship. Once they've completed their first packet of initial paperwork, we'll go out and do a home inspection for the second time. We'll make sure that all of the changes that are necessary to their home to make it safe, and for the fire order, we can mark those off and that they've completed them. We collect their 16 hours of training that has specific areas. They must do 16 hours training annually. Through the ARPA funds, we have a welcome bag for them with some items in there that they need: radios, flashlights, some necessary equipment for their go bags. We'll submit the license, and then usually it takes about a week to get that back, and then they can advertise and be up and running.
Some of the upcoming changes for licensing is that providers' licenses now are what's called a continued license, January 1st to December 31st. It used to be where a provider could be every April or every October, and now it's just one licensing period. There is legislative draft number 2, which I'm assuming some of you have maybe gotten some feedback on. That is now out there for discussion. They're having meetings on that. The provider hub, that is supposed to be coming in, summer of 2025. Net study, that we're now at our 5-year background study, doing the background studies again after 5 years. There's some statute changes coming number-wise, because in June we are going from DHS to DCYF. Some of the ARPA incentives, Julia talked about a few of them already, but we still have referral bonuses. If a provider refers an applicant, then they can have a monetary reward for that. Mentor program, Julie touched on that. B1 licensing, non-traditional care hours, free trainings that we offer twice a year. We have orientation giveaways, so when applicants come for orientation, if there's more than one, then we hand out, or we pull a name for a handout or a giveaway. And annual appreciation gifts to family child care providers.
Yeah, and I was just going to kind of piggyback off of Karen's updates for our ARPA. So we were awarded $87,000 from the ARPA committee and the board a few years ago during COVID. Our balance is currently at $24,146. The majority of that money was utilized for building all of this stuff. So we had very little marketing materials. So when Gail and Julie and Karen go out to these community events, we had pretty much postcards that we had printed ourselves and made up. So we've worked with a few different agencies to get kind of more professional looking things. The mentor program, referral bonuses for current licensed providers. We purchased every licensed provider in Clay County a fire extinguisher. We're continuing to offer the free training. So with the $24,000 that's remaining, our intention is to continue paying our mentors. They get $500 every year or 2 years, every year to do that. And that's very minimal for the amount of time that they spend supporting and really helping out new licensed providers. Julie and Karen can't really offer a lot of technical support just because everybody kind of uses their own programs as well as like policies. We don't get into the business side of things. So the mentors are able to kind of assist them with developing rates and, kind of navigating the business end more than just the license end, which, we defer, people back to these two for. And then also continuing to offer the free trainings for our providers. It's just kind of a way that we show support. It's also a good opportunity for us to get our providers together for the day. They can, mingle and get to know each other and things like that. So those are what we're hoping to continue ongoing when the ARPA funds eventually run out, which they will.
Well, we certainly hope that you will take advantage of those ARPA funds as often as you can.
Yes,
in terms of, obviously, one of the things that always peaks as a primary concern at the county level is the availability of childcare. So the recruiting process and that is really significant. And I just want to make a comment on the rules. Every time that some of the state agencies start adopting new rules, we at the county get very nervous. And I would think the same could be, as we try to recruit and as you guys try to recruit additional providers, childcare providers, the last thing we need is more issues for them to have to, hoops to have to go through. And so any ways that you can provide us information on maybe some of those rules that maybe there's a concern about that we should know about. Again, we're we're in St. Paul too, and we can talk to legislatures. Like, sometimes these agencies adopt rules even without legislative approval, but we can certainly help advocate for. The last thing we need is to make it more difficult. We certainly want safety in our kids when they go in but I think the current regulations we have is adequate. I have yet to find anybody where there's been a problem, and if there has, it's been dealt with right away. So, anyway, that was my, so there's 130 right now. Is that what you said? And 11 in process?
Currently, yes.
How does that compare with a year ago? Is that?
I think it
I think the numbers are up,
but
aren't they?
when we lose one, we gain one, and it seems like our numbers for in-process have gone up.
Okay.
I think a year ago when I did my update for the board, we were at 133. When I was here a month ago, we were at 127. So they've licensed 3 new providers in the last month.
And just for the county deals with in-home child care providers. Then there's also centers that are out there, and centers they operate directly with the state, correct?
Correct.
So your involvement with that is very small.
Minimal.
May I voice something for one of my providers?
Sure, absolutely.
During COVID, I think what happened was staff and busing issues, especially for some of the smaller communities. They cut out bus routes. So these younger kids had to walk to school. And I know that a few of my providers have voiced that they just want to quit because now they either have to walk everybody to school, including infants, or these parents are moving their child to a school program that now takes younger preschoolers because of the busing issues. So now they can't fill those preschool spots. And I told her to connect with the commissioner for her area, and that would be you. And I told her I would also speak to that because some of the busing issues it's a trickle-down effect on programs.
Routes are cut from the school. It definitely impacts more than just the residents in that community. I had that happen as a parent myself with busing because we were less than a mile from the school, and my kids went to an in-home child care provider. So it really makes it tricky if your kid has to get picked up after school and you have to go back to work. So,
Again, transportation is an issue.
And I would also encourage them to talk to Representative Joy about that, and I know Ezra, you can do that, but he would be really helpful in elevating that concern.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Any questions? We have one more proclamation here. Ezra, would you like to start?
Proclamation Childcare Provider Appreciation Day, May 9th, 2025, whereas the Clay County joins communities across the nation in recognizing Childcare Provider Appreciation Day to honor the dedication and impact of childcare providers, and
whereas more than half of all children under 6 in the United States spend part of their week in non-parental care, highlighting the essential role child care providers play in offering safe, enriching, and developmentally supportive environments for children of all backgrounds. And
whereas childcare enables parents and caregivers to pursue education and is a critical pillar of strong local economy, enabling working families to thrive and businesses to function. And
whereas high-quality childcare is foundational to early childhood development and a vital contribution to the long-term success of our youth, our families, and our entire community. And
whereas recognizing and celebrating our child care providers is an investment in the future of Clay County.
Now, therefore, we, the Clay County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May 9th, 2025 as Child Care Provider Appreciation Day in Clay County. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all child care providers who nurture, teach, and support our youngest citizens. We encourage all residents to recognize and thank these dedicated professionals for their critical role in building a brighter future for Clay County. Very good.
Thank you.
We're not quite done.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the proclamation.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear to approve the proclamation. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. The proclamation is declared. Thank you for your presentation today.
Guys.
You want a break, Commissioner Abbey? Yeah, okay. Okay. All right, we are back in session, and I just want to do a little bit of house cleaning. I was so encouraged and excited to pronounce the proclamation for Mental Health Month that I forgot to have the vote taken. So we had a motion and a second on that proclamation, and at this time, I would ask all in favor to signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right. Then we'll move into item number 23, request approval to hire scale attendant. Good morning, Corey.
Morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Unfortunately, our scale attendant has given her 2 weeks' notice, and next Monday will be her last day, so we will be looking to replace her, and that would be my request this morning. It is included in the budget. I did not take it to pick because none of the job description changed, so it would just be the same job that we have now, we're just looking to post it. So.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, next item is the solid waste grant application.
Yes, we are looking to apply for a grant through the MPCA. We have the garage in the back of the transfer station now that we're using to store stuff, recycling items and that kind of things. We would like to upgrade that facility or that building and turn it into a Freon recycling. In order to do that, we have to put in a heater and insulate it, and this grant came up. I did take the grant opportunity to SWAC, and they approved it. We have to get that sent in. The original ask was for $40,000, but we have actually knocked it down to it's a $22,000 total with a 50% match. So it'll be $11,000 and some change. And that would include heating and insulating, but no inside steel. We just felt, after talking to maintenance, that the inside steel would be too costly and too labor intensive, so we backed off on that. But so my request would be to allow us to send in the letter of intent. So.
All right, any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. We discussed this at SWAC as discussed, and since we live in an area of the country where the majority of the year we are not above 40 degrees, felt this was really a great opportunity to leverage some additional funds, but to also expand what the Freon capabilities that the county would be with the obvious intent of keeping as much of that out of our landfill as possible. So certainly in support of what this request is.
So in this one, the motion was to approve the grant application for up to $40,000. You want that number changed, or do you want
Total grant application, the money we were requesting would be a total of $22,959.07, and the grant cap would be $11,479.54.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Approve the application, the amounts totaled.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear for a grant application in the amount of $22,959.07. Any further discussion? None, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
All right, next item, we have a request of letter of, excuse me, before we get there, a request approval to sign for tax hosting contract. Rory, good afternoon. Good morning.
Morning, close enough.
Almost afternoon, yeah.
Thank you. So this morning I'd like to propose moving to a Aumentum tax hosted platform. This is something that they would host in their online environment. After a few meetings with them and initial price quote that we received back in December, the pricing was just a little too high for us, so we, us and some other counties and MCCC, we got together to try to figure out, okay, how can we make this a little more affordable for all of us? And so after a few months of back and forth, Aumentum came back to us with a proposal that if 4 counties were to go together, then they would, could sustain that price of $60,000 annually with a $12,500 one-time setup fee. So that's the proposal I'm bringing you today or this morning. The other 3 counties that would be going on with us would be Clearwater, Rice, and Roseau County. So, and it sounds like those 3 are already approved, just kind of waiting to see what happens here today.
Okay.
But currently, we host Aumentum tax on premise here, and it touches our land records departments. It's kind of a system where we have to babysit a lot. They have last minute patches and updates that affect our time here. So one of my staff typically works nights and weekends just about every week just to maintain last minute patches. So a lot of this would really save time in my department, but also benefit, assessors, auditors, treasurers, and some other, partners we work with as well that pull in that tax data. Funding source, so I met with Lori Johnson on this, and to come up with it, if we were to host it ourselves again, we'd be looking at a hardware refresh for new servers, and the time and cost it would take to do that. We just decided maybe this proposal to go hosted would be the best fit for Clay County. So after meeting with Ms. Johnson, we were able to determine that removing the hardware off of our internal services list, we would have enough money to pay for fiscal year 25, 26, and potentially 27 with our internal service fund. So we would have basically the 3 years covered out of this 36 months contract already.
Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Everett.
Just we had a difficult time when we were partnered with some other entities here with the social service program.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Are there any security concerns or anything similar to the challenges we face with that we might need to contend with in partnering on this?
Yeah, we did ask that question on how our data would be structured up on their cloud platform, and everybody is independent of each other. The only reason for the additional counties to onboard with us are because of costs. If they want to onboard counties, it's cheaper for them to do 4 at once than it is for individual counties. So that's the reason of the joint.
So basically, we're still going to operate the same way we would if we were independent. We're not linked to them. It's just a volume deal.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions? What's the board's wishes? Yes.
I'll move that we proceed with the Aumentum housing, hosting contract and funding as described.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. So is this so what were we funding before for this? How has the funding changed?
The cost of hardware is a big portion of it. So for us to maintain it, of course, we have to have servers, infrastructure, things like that. So that equipment in those line items for internal services would go away and kind of pool together for the annual cost for this.
Okay. And is this something that could be considered for out of Kim's future?
Without talking with her, I wouldn't be sure, but we certainly could bring up to her.
Yeah, I'm just thinking for the future that this might qualify for consideration for those funds. All right. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, very good. Thanks, Ray.
Commissioners?
Yep. All right, next we have a request of a letter of support to send to Fargo city leaders to include the bus stop at the DMV facilities as part of the 2026-2030 transportation plan, development plan. Certainly, we have that letter attached. Yes, Steve, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. As we've discussed previously and had a discussion with Mr. Griffith this morning, the city of Fargo is working on their 2026 to 2030 transportation plan. As we built our 2 or 3 facilities up on 15th Avenue North after the 2025 plan, we were encouraged to reach out to City of Moorhead and City of Fargo. Fargo is now in charge of that transportation plan. So we've, Commissioner Mojo and I have been part of the planning meetings. We've advocated for the plan. It's my understanding, based on the scenarios that they have, that we continue, our buildings continue to be outside of the MAT bus transportation plan. And so bringing forward this letter would hopefully have the transit director and subsequently the City of Fargo leadership to reconsider amending one of the routes. 2 of the routes go into that area or could be utilized through Walmart Route 6 and Route 9, and so we would be looking for them to reconsider adding that as they move forward. Is that ideal for any questions?
As I looked at the letter, I think it's a good letter. The only thing that I would like to see on that is, in the very first sentence, I'd like it to start off by saying, on behalf of the Clay County Board of Commissioners, I am, because otherwise it sounds like it's just coming from me, and
Sure.
I think it would be good to have that, that language at the very beginning of that letter.
I agree. Do you want it to continue to be on Steve's letterhead, or do you want the commission?
No, probably, yeah, I think just probably the Clay County letterhead, I think would be.
Sounds good, Mr. Chair. I can make those 2 changes.
All right, board's wishes. Approve, we'd like to get the approval of that letter to go to the city as well as then CC it as indicated in the letter.
I'll make a motion to approve the signing of the letter, or sending of the letter.
I'll second that.
A motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Steve. All right, we are going into committee reports. Commissioner Kravinoff, we'll start with you today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the fact that we didn't have a commission meeting last week, because that's our 5th week Tuesday, where we don't have one, my report will begin back on April 22nd. That was an afternoon meeting that we had county commissioners along with HRA with semi-annual updates and just how they're doing overall. Good educational piece for us and also a good dialogue about things coming down the pike in the future year with not only what their plans are, but also potential changes if federal legislation or state legislation changes funding. On Wednesday, the 23rd, Historical and Cultural Society had our Board of Directors meeting. General business, we had a review of job applications that are coming in for a replacement of our executive director position that Maureen Johansson's had for quite a few years, and she'll be retiring in July. And just a note to us and in the public that at the end of May 29th in the evening, we will be having the Society's annual meeting at the Income Center from 7, and our guest host will be Dr. Carol Engelhardt, who is our 2025 Clay County Heritage Award recipient. Okay, then, let's see. On 25th, Friday, that we had a county directors retreat that was held at the Law Enforcement Center. Most of us were there. I really enjoyed that. It was led by former Sheriff Paul Laney and former Dispatch Director Mary Philippi. The focus were on leadership styles and best practices. And also in the afternoon, which was fun to watch, our directors involving conflict resolution and counseling with employees. A good one-on-one practicing that, or showing that skill, and also just getting recommendations of their styles as they went into those, I'm missing the word here, situations that may occur. On 28th, on Monday, a short meeting with the public health staff. Commissioner Eberger already mentioned it regarding the cannabis. Those issues discussed there were mainly reviewed already with Matt Jacobson earlier on the fees and a few other minor items. Then on Thursday, May 1st, we had the intergovernmental committee meeting. The whole meeting virtually was spent on truancy and having some discussion about that may lead to discussions during the retreat that we have next January. There's been, we had two people, representatives from schools there. Work being done to alleviate this problem. Mord Schools was one of 13 schools offered a state pilot to work with the attendance review board. They've got teams set up through all the elementary and middle school and to address different ways to evaluate reasons for truancy, to get the teams to make the calls that are mainly made from teachers to parents, and just have that consistency of what work's being done, and then bringing that together to have some consistency and reliable reporting back to the state. And so just for knowledge, truancy begins after 3 days of unexcused absences. And I was very surprised, maybe other people not so much, but that right now truancy affects 25% of Minnesota students, and in elementary schools it's about 10%. So hopefully we will work on that. Truancy is such a core effect of long-term effect of where people go in the future, be it education, discipline, and other activities they're involved with. And then last night would have been my last meeting with the Moorhead Planning Commission, and it was the only thing that was a public hearing had to do with some text amendment changes regarding zoning amendments in regard to the mixed-use parcels, and that was approved and moved on. Also mentioned that Ward 1 had a new replacement. Nicole Matson had been in that spot. She's now on City Council, and Wayne Ingersoll now has that spot on the commission. That's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. The 22nd, we had a highway tracking meeting. We discussed the right-of-way necessitation, and then other items that this board already took action on today. I attended the Prairie Lake, or that afternoon also attended the HRA meeting. I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And then that evening attended the Pollinator Pint Night that the Soil and Water Conservation District did at Junkyard. I appreciate their work in the community there. I attended the Prairie Lakes Municipal Solid Waste Authority meeting virtually the next day. We talked about basically the financial reports and had the plant manager report. Talked about the ash management, County Highway 75 pilot project with the Stantec agreement for Becker. Talked about the medical waste that happened to be an issue at another county hauler, with another county hauler. And then talked about MPCA grant interest forms, and then discussing Senator Kupek's bill that talks about a adjustment to the solid waste tax. The next day, I attended the SWAC committee meeting, general updates from all of the folks out there, talked about Earth Week and the success there, talked about strategizing the additional tonnages of waste that will be coming in during cleanup weeks. And then after that, I attended a discussion at the Family Service Center with the state Medicaid director. They had different folks. We had Clay County staff represented there, but different folks discussing how agencies and organizations are dealing with the uncertainty in regards to Medicaid waiver reimbursements. It was really framed more from a federal standpoint, but I continued to bring up the fact that there are some major state components there that will really affect us immediately. So counties are trying to triage both of those changes going forward. That afternoon, I attended the retirement event for the Moorhead Business Association Director Sherry Larson. Sherry's been really helpful on a lot of different county projects and strategizing, and so I really wish her nothing but the best in retirement. It'll be fun to work with the new director there, Stacy. That afternoon, or evening rather, I attended the CAP-LP annual meeting that was held at the TAC in Dilworth. A great update on all of the vibrant programs that go on there throughout the year, so I appreciate that opportunity. Had several different legislative strategy meetings in regards to how we continue the lift in the final 2.5 weeks. So Friday, had the meeting with the Clay County folks, the Chamber, and the City of Moorhead on flood mitigation strategy with the capital investment ask. That's kind of a moving target. I know this morning the Capital Investment Committee at the House positioned 3 vehicle bills that will go forward. Nothing's been identified as to what will be in them, but whenever they reach an agreement, they can insert in there. So we did talk about making sure we had opinion letters to the editor and encouragement, so I know this morning the Star Tribune letter to the editor was printed, and then yesterday the Inform one, so I appreciate that. And then also had the opportunity to attend with staff the Friday the department head training. Always a really great opportunity to leverage on everyone's strengths and strategies and how we can continue to meet the needs of our citizens in the best possible way. On Monday, I attended the Lakeland Mental Health Center Board of Directors meeting. We had results and approval of the 2024 financial audit. I appreciate that. There was a small opinion in that, but it kind of basically resulted around the fact that our financial software didn't have the opportunity to report time on a grant specifically integrated in it, and so we've already upgraded that software, so it's able to do that now. And then that also talked about access indicators and key performance indicators. The programs in Clay County continue to be really healthy in regards to appropriate for the financial aspect and also timing aspect, so I appreciate that. Talked about Minnesota legislation, and then we did approve 2 grant awards, and it was also the employee recognition, so I appreciate the opportunity to see and discuss with our employees there. Had conversations last week with both Matt Hilgart and Matt Freeman from AMC on how Clay County can best strategize with our bills going forward. As I noted yesterday, happy to report that our PRTF piece is included in the omnibus bill. It's gone through the first hurdle at the House. Now we need to see what the Senate does, and then obviously conference committee pieces. But two, there's some other major issues that will continue to affect counties. And yesterday at the Minnesota Rural Counties Caucus meeting that Commissioner Bear and I attended, we had a really good update from transportation, the transportation chair, Representative Kosnick, on what that bill and how it entails. I'm thankful that there's some additional funds in there for counties, but that DHS bill really does have some new cost shares, as they're saying. You know, I'm not sure how we best educate folks. You know, counties are doing the best they can to facilitate those programs. The testimony yesterday really seemed to framework that counties are picking the most expensive options, and that's why we're in a financial deficit. And so I think it's important that staff is able to advocate for how that's not necessarily the case. And that concludes my reports.
Thank you. Commissioner Bear.
On the 22nd after county board, we had the HRA that has already been addressed. And then on the 23rd, the building committee met, and we addressed everything on the agenda today that we talked about at that meeting. On the 24th, I had the Clay County Justice Advisory Board meeting. It was more of an update on the department for all they're doing with the Justice Department. And it is an update for everybody that attended. I'll let Commissioner Ebner go into more detail on that meeting. Then on the 25th, we had the intergovernmental retreat where we were led by Paul Laney and Mary Filippi through the Drive the Road leadership course. I'd like to thank all the department heads to make that a priority to attend those workshops. It was very informational. On the 28th, I had the West Central Regional Water District Board meeting up in Grand Forks at AE2S offices, where we have received signed MOUs from the cities of Felton, Climax, Pearlie, Halsted, and Borup. We also discussed a draft MOU for the East Central Water District to be finalized and sent to them before the next board meeting. We're looking at changing the fiscal host from Clay County to Norman County because the EPA grant that we will be receiving has to be run through Norman County, and to simplify the process going forward. After the board meeting, we had a work session for the water district where we came up with common financial policies and common cost distribution goals and approaches, and total estimated project costs were all part of that work session. Then later that night, I went to Dilworth City Council meeting. They had their 2024 Volunteer of the Year recognition, where Jason Stewart, Brian Christopherson, Gerald Zimmel, and Missy Hubbard were individuals who exemplify community spirit and service through their dedication to local government, to local organizations. Congratulations to those four. There was also an update on the Highway 10 design and progress update. They'll be having an open house on the Highway 10 redesign, May 20th, 5:30 to 7:30 at the elementary school in Dilworth. It is about 30% designed, so they'll have an update there. And then also at that meeting, the White Earth Nation was also there to meeting to discuss the land transfer in the tribal trust. Great discussion again was had there. Just like at our meeting, they did not give them a letter of support, but wanting more discussion going forward on that matter. And then yesterday, I had MRC with Commissioner Mojo, where we had an update on the transportation bill from Representative Kozik, and it sounds like the Senate also passed the transformation bill, so that'll be going into conference committee, and we'll see what they hammer out there. And that is all my reports so far, Mr. Chair.
You. Commissioner Ebinger.
Thank you. On the 22nd, I also attended the Clay County work session with the HRA, which has already been covered. Later that day, I attended the Red River Regional Dispatch Center Board of Authority meeting. I had discussion on the schedule of the construction of the new site. Right now, we're still on course for an early October transition. Moving from the old dispatch center to the new is going to be a process. It may take as long as a month. They're going to do it one console at a time and try and operate both sites simultaneously in case there's an issue, to make sure that the fallback position is one where all the services can be met. We did talk about the retirement for Fire Chief Dirksen in Fargo. I just take this opportunity to say he has been a true public servant during his time here, and he has been a remarkable force of nature in getting this new dispatch center put together. And I wish him good luck in his retirement. He's done a great job for Fargo and for our region. On the 23rd, following that, I had a remote meeting with the Greater Fargo Moorhead EDC Executive Board. We covered the 2024 audit. It was clean with unqualified. It was a good audit. Had a long talk on Innovate 28. Some of the expectations that some of the executive board members had on reporting back, and discussions about focus on what we're doing as an executive board, just in some of the being a little more strategic. There's been some questions about refreshing our message. Flourishing seems to be an objective that the board is currently pushing, and we had a long discussion on defining flourishing. Later that day, I had the Diversion Authority Finance Committee meeting. There was a report on the Minnesota finances, discussing, look at the potential for bonding, moving forward for the $60 million, and the work that we are doing with Representative Joy Keeler and Senator Kupek. Excuse me, I got so many notes here, I'm losing track. On the 24th, we had a library executive committee meeting in preparation for meeting we've got tomorrow with the City of Moorhead to try to determine a lease that can be agreed upon for the Lake Agassiz Regional Library personnel to be in the new library being built by the City of Moorhead. Later that day, I attended a meeting with the Criminal Justice Advisory Board. Dale Arnold conducted it, and I said this earlier when he was here for the building item on the agenda. He went in a great detail on how our parole and community punishment system works. And I've been in the criminal justice field as a practitioner, a student, and a teacher since 1978. And it took 45 minutes to an hour for him to present this, but we are doing things in this state, and particularly in this county, that give people an opportunity to turn their lives around. And he's a true believer, and his people are true believers. The role of a parole officer that I knew when I got in this, it's like night and day compared to what we offer people now. And I was just very impressed with his enthusiasm in this and what we're doing in this county. So as we move forward, I'm glad they're back in the building, and I want us to support them in what I think is a really genuine effort to make people's lives better. And it's like we do with our kids here. There's a lot of people in this community that are doing great, and we got to support them and meet their needs. We got a lot of people in this community with problems, and it was great to hear somebody in a position where it's a corrections position, but they want to see those people deal with their problems and move over to the other side of the table and be part of the people in our community that are successful. So it was a great meeting, and I really appreciate what he's bringing to the mix. Later that day, I had the Board of Authority meeting for the Diversion Authority. Again, let me get caught up on notes. The technical Dispute Review Board update from Council John Shockley. They have two people who are both lawyers and engineers who have agreed to serve on this. And at the time of the meeting, they were trying to find a chair for that, which is another engineer that's selected by the two people we've already got. So they're working on that. And we had a closed session for attorney consultation with general counsel regarding an update on the status of ongoing compensation event claims to provide negotiation direction for those claims. And we had a discussion on that. And on Monday, the 28th, myself and Commissioner Krabanoff met with Jason McCoy, Rory Beal, Kathy McKay, just to discuss some of the issues involving cannabis retail and the ordinance that's being developed with that. And on Thursday, May 1st, I virtually attended the executive committee, or the Emergency Communication Board's legislative committee. And I have notes to that right here. There's a lot of House files that are still in limbo and do not look like they're going to advance. One of the things we had a good discussion on, the statutory language, which we've been trying to get it updated for 5 years now, it doesn't look like we'll get they took it off the table a year ago to hire a mediator to bring all the parties in. That mediation contract is pending, but it's been pending for the last year and a half. And they tentatively are saying we'll bring back a discussion on this in the 2027 session. So it looks like it's been put aside for a while. And that completes my report.
All right, thank you. Good thing about going last, most of my meetings have been already talked about, so. On April 22nd, we had a highway tracking meeting. Commissioner Mojo's reported on that. We also had the HRA meeting, and then also that afternoon, we did have the Red River Regional Dispatch Board Authority meeting. The only thing I would add to that meeting is that we got a report where there are now 36 of 38 staff in the staff, and 8 of 9 shift supervisors are in place. So that's looking good there. On the 23rd, in the morning, we had our Prairie Lake Solid Waste meeting. Commissioner Mojo reported on that, and I really don't have anything more to add to that. She gave a good review of that. On that afternoon, we had our building committee meeting, and most of those items we've talked about today. I would like to add that we did have some conversations regarding the joint highway roof project. That's about the only other thing that was not there. And Joe continues to work on that with our other partners, and it looks like our cost share on that is about $240,750, of which previously in our plan, that number was 300,000, so it's down a little bit. And all the rest of the stuff we acted on today. Then on the 24th in the morning, we had the Clay County Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting. That again has been reported on. We always get a good report from Corey on that. I do want to go back on the to the Prairie Lakes meeting. In terms of the deliveries for Clay County, at one time we were like 1,600 tons behind. I want to report that as of February 28th, we were actually 83 tons to the good. So we really turned that around. And, you know, that's a lot of work on the part of Corey and a lot of work on the part of Brian and Perham. And it's a tribute to our new facility being able to provide material that is acceptable to Perham. Then on Thursday, We had the Diversion Authority Board meeting as well. I really don't have anything more to add to what Commissioner Ebinger talked about there. And then Friday, we did have the retreat. I do want to thank all of our supervisors who were there, partake in that, and I thought it was a good retreat. I've known Laney for quite some, Paul Laney for quite some time, and Mary from being with the dispatch center, and they really put on a good program. I do want to point out that Commissioner Mosho touched on it, but Mayor Carlson and I and the Buffalo Red, we did do a letter to the editor for both the Fargo Forum and the Star Tribune, which I believe has already been published. You know, the importance of the $60.4 million that we have in there, and encouraging the bonding bill to be established with those funds for those projects. I believe, let me just look here. I believe that concludes my report. Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the 22nd, I participated in both the highway tracking and HRA meeting that's been well covered. On the 23rd, I participated with other county and city officials in an emergency management exercise where our EOC was set up. The exercise determined that a tornado had hit the Fargo-Moorhead area. And so we went through the different processes that would go through during those situations. Again, thanks to Gabe and Chad Stangland from the city of Moorhead. It was a very excellent run exercise. 23rd, participated in the building committee. It's been well covered. On the 24th, I met with Jill Murray. There's been several tax court filings that have been made, so she updated me on those different things. On the 24th, also wrote a letter to the governor on the board's behalf, highlighting the different cost shifts. Also sent that to our local legislators and also both Senate and House leadership. On the 25th, participated in the management retreat. Again, as I shared then, thank you to the board for your commitment to allowing things like that to happen. I think one of the things that we hear from our staff on a pretty continual basis is having the opportunities to grow. And this is one of those just one of the examples that this board supports. And so we appreciate that. And also, again, for those in attendance. On the 28th, I participated in the water district meetings that has been covered by Commissioner Bear. That afternoon, met with Sheriff Empting on a series of issues, and that evening participated at the Moorhead City Council, listened to the White Earth Nation presentation. On the 29th, I met with Anna and Darren. We had a discussion on salaries, insurance, and other HR issues. On the 29th, worked on the letter that this board approved to the city of Fargo in regards to the bus routes. On the 30th, met with Joe Olson on the agenda items today. On the 30th, I also met with Anna and Darren again. There are different companies now as we move towards paid family leave that are going to be working with the state of Minnesota to offer the program. And so Anna and Darren are looking into those to see if there's a cost-saving measure that could help with that oversight. On the 1st, I participated in the intergovernmental retreat meeting. Again, as Commissioner Krabanoff talked about, a good portion spoke on truancy. I think the other thing to highlight are the presentation that we heard from this morning in regards to youth mental health. One of the things that both of the representatives, Dwayne Borgeson from Moorhead School District, and also is it Jack O'Keefe? Joe O'Keefe, the principal from DGF, has indicated that mental health while it's still continuing to be a challenge for their schools to face, the investments that have been put in with the schools and this board of having representatives within the school district has had an impact. I think the word that they used was almost back to pre-pandemic behaviors, which still are challenging, but I think goes to the great investment that this board made as far as working with the schools. On the first, met with Commissioner Krabbenhoff on a series of issues and also spoke with Derek Lapointe. I think that one of the things that we may want to talk about on tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to meet with Derek Lapointe, Dan Mawley, and Peyton Mastera from the city of Dilworth, just to kind of talk a little bit more about the casino possibility here within the county. And I think that, from our board standpoint, I think there certainly would be a benefit to, as City of Moorhead takes that leadership role, being it's in their area per se. But I think that having elective conversations and committees may be something that this board may want to consider.
Steve, on that regard, I think that's important. I think when we left the meeting that we had that day, we talked about some sort of future collaboration amongst the entities to talk, and I think there's probably an interest on the part of the city and the county and Dilworth to maybe get together. I think it would be appropriate for that committee to be established. I can't speak for the other entities, but that's obviously in Commissioner Bear's district, and I serve on that 336 corridor area there with the wellhead protection plan. So from that standpoint, I would like to see the two of us be involved with the establishment of that committee. I'm assuming that Moorhead will probably have a couple of council members in it too, and Dilworth has asked to be part of that as well, and I do believe it's important that we'd have a member from Glendon Township be part of that as well. And I think we have an awful long way to go in terms of these things, and I know I think early on, I think Commissioner Bear and I had pointed out that, and Steve, we had met with members of the Mahnomen County Commission in regards to, and I really think it would be good for that committee to have them come and talk to that group as well. They have a lot of insight into working with both the White Earth Nation as well as with a casino that they have within their county already. So, but I guess from that standpoint, I don't know. You said Moorhead taking the lead.
I maybe misspoke just from the standpoint of it being in their growth area.
Right.
Maybe not necessarily taking the lead, but wanting to be at the table, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's my understanding that the presentation that was presented to both the Moorhead City Council and the Dilworth City Council ended up very similar to the way ours ended, and that was to have further dialogue and move this thing forward. And I think probably the best way to do that would be to have this group going. And if there's no, unless the county board thinks differently, then I think we should probably proceed with that so we can move this thing along one way or the other.
I'm a strong advocate of that, certainly. If I can just bring it up, one of the things that the public I heard, whether it was at Moorhead City Council and here, is always making the comparison. We're bringing a lot of things to the effects that happen in Mahnomen. And I guess what's in my mind, just food for thought, when we look at the possibilities and the dialogue and stuff, one of the considerations I think we need to do is what has happened when this type of thing was developed in Shakopee. This is more in size of what Fargo Moorhead would be, and take a look at that so we aren't comparing how it looks in some of the, where it's next to rural communities, I think it, in my view, may have a different effect.
Certainly, and I think we will probably, as we move along on this, and I think it's important that we take a look at several different areas, right? I mean, there's been casinos in quite a few areas in Minnesota, and all, obviously, they're all run by one of the tribal nations. So, yeah, but I just think to keep this moving forward and to gather more information, I think this is the appropriate step. So, if you, I don't know if you would care to put that as a committee assignments. Commissioner Aberdeen?
I'm just, one of the things I really hope we keep in mind is that as we work with Moorhead and other communities here to get this done, everybody's going to be impacted. At the time to make the agreement, and each entity needs to vocalize and document what their needs are. We're going to have issues in social services, in public safety, corrections, highway. All this is going to have an impact on the county. So we are not without some skin in this game. And really, before anybody signs an agreement, I hope that we can identify and justify what those needs are and work with with White Earth to meet them.
Just a point of clarification, there is not even a request to sign any agreements right now.
Oh, I know.
Right now it's a letter of support for what they want to do. And prior to that being done, we need additional information. And out of that additional information could potentially be some agreements. We don't know that yet, but
Some of the things, and not being on the committee, I just would like to be heard on my concerns right now. If you take all that acreage and put it in trust, any residential growth is going to be, that this brings, is going to be on that property. One of the Moorhead City Council members said, why not limit the trust to the casino? We're entering into a period where that land's going to be even more valuable if the jet fuel plant comes in. And we're going to have a need for residential growth. And if that residential growth is taken out of the tax base, that could be a problem. I mean, all these things, I hope we're going to look at them strong and go in there with the needs identified. It's my only concern.
very good.
I just wanted to,
Yes.
I fully support forming a committee with Moorhead and Dilworth and Glidden Township, with myself on it.
Are you asking for a motion at this time for that, for you two on that committee? I'd like to support that and we move that ahead toward the work group.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and that would be, just a committee that researching the White Earth Nation's request.
And working with the wider,
and
working with them.
Yes, yeah, as well as the City of Moorhead, City of Dilworth, Glidden Township, and, or not Glidden, yeah, and Glidden Township, yeah. All right?
All those things are in my motion.
All right, any further discussion?
No, there hasn't been a second yet.
Oh, I thought there was.
Yeah.
Oh, you seconded?
I seconded it.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Just had couple other things here. Just received information yesterday. Minnesota Office of Cannabis Management will be announcing on June 5th the social equity cannabis for licenses for cannabis cultivators, manufacturers, and mezzo businesses. And later in the summer, they will also then be having their general applications, so that your actions today were timely. Yesterday, the House, I mentioned earlier, looked at the House bill, House tax bill. They're looking to extend the moratorium on the sales tax, and they're looking to have a legislative task force to look at sales tax in the future. addressed homestead and market values for veterans increases. And then, as I mentioned, they repealed the cannabis aid, 20% of the gross receipts that will now go back to the general fund. While we didn't have a proclamation today, did just want to recognize this week is National Corrections Officer Week. We have a correctional facility with a great number of excellent trained staff. We're fortunate to have them, and so I wanted to make sure that they received their recognition this week. And lastly, as happens often, Kimberly noted in listening today that she already does pay roughly $15,000 for the tax system through her compliance fund, and that as of late, the funds haven't been coming in as quickly as it has in the past, and so having much more than that may be a challenge, but wanted to pass that along.
Right, very
that
good.
concludes my report.
I'm glad they're listening in. All right. Darren, do you have anything for us?
I will try to make mine brief here. I also sat in on the HRA presentation on Tuesday, and I also met with the jail administrator and chief deputy and assistant jail administrator on Tuesday about a veteran's preference claim. On Wednesday, I attended the EAOC training as well and the building committee meeting. And also Mark and Brian and I met one last time for the county code, to update the county code. Thought we were pretty much done with it, and then I think Mark found a couple more in a drawer somewhere, so we have to look at those, but we're still hoping to bring that to the full board at the end of May. I sat in on the April SWAC meeting on Thursday the 24th. I had a discussion with the correctional officer regarding the veterans preference complaint. Sat in a couple meetings with UKG, RFP meeting. They're trying to do some stuff there with MNDOT, and went to the manager's offsite on Friday as well. I thought that was excellent training as well. It's fun to see how departments handle difficult personnel issues that come up. So that was good to see, and I think a very good training. Monday, I worked on the veteran preference, did some research on that. Tuesday, I submitted the 2026 payroll estimate to MCIT. I met with Steve and Anna. He already mentioned this about some compensation ideas. Also, on Tuesday, the 29th, I met with Integrity Benefits. Steve already talked about that, but possibly going with a private vendor instead of the state's program on the paid family medical leave. I wasn't overly enthused about that, but after that meeting, I think it might just be a good thing to look into. On Wednesday the 30th, I sat in on some more RFP meetings with MNCCC. Met with Corey on some recycling issues on Thursday. It was very interesting. I went with Matt and Corey out to the landfill, and there was a representative from Blue Horizon, which does solar panels, and what they're looking at is possibly using our closed portion of the landfill to put a solar panel field on there. It's about 10 acres, and just basically looking at the site, seeing if it would be even possible, but it's an interesting thing to look at to possibly use that land that can't be really used for much of anything else to produce additional energy. So that was educational and interesting as well. Much still to evaluate on that though. And then Friday was just a bunch of catch-up work. So that's my report.
Right. Sarah, do you have anything? No? Okay.
Just to add to my committee reports, I also attended the Delaware City Council and the Moorhead City Council meetings.
All right. With that, we are adjourned.